Junkie got the sauce, bitch.
Oh, no. I thought I had it today, guys. I thought I had it today. Okay. Which crazy vegan made a video about me? I give up. It's a wrap, dude. I just can't not mute it. I go to pause the music, and then I lose my screen that shows me if I'm muted or not. And I'm like, already, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to unmute today. I'm sitting here. I even have a hotkey for it. I give up. It's over. I just start reading the chat. I become too engaged. Man, I feel great today. By the way, I did praise your name, Clown Mazard. I said that you have a great name. I said that somebody told me that a vegan made a video about me. What vegan? You can link it in the chat. We could watch it actually. Are you guys familiar with Timothy Pakron, aka Mississippi Vegan? The guest that I'm having on the show today? I'm actually going to email him right now, make sure that he has the address for the Hangouts. Okay. It's an easy enough email address. Sorry, guys. So, I actually got invited to be on Thunder Bay Personal Trainer's live debate the other day. You guys know he's been kind of going back and forth with me, trying to call me out. Well, I called him out at first, to be honest. And then that's kind of how it started. The other day, he went on Vegan Deterioration stream. He was like calling her out to do a debate, and I said, I'll debate you, whatever you want to do. And then I kind of thought about it, and honestly, I looked at his channel more, and the joke's on me if I debate him, because he's not a real person. The person he plays on screen is like a satire character. It would be like debating a Saturday Night Live character, he's in character. He's not a real person. To a certain extent, I think that all people who are in front of the camera play up a certain extent of themselves, but he's like a very extreme version of that. I basically feel like he's not actually there for real content, real debate, real discussion. I think he just wants views, similar to the old Durian writer. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. If you guys think it's going to be worth the time, then let me know, and maybe we will actually go there and talk. But yeah, he sent me a link the other day for Google Hangouts, and I was in a train, riding a train. So obviously I couldn't just jump in. He's not active on YouTube anymore. Yeah, his channel's called I'm Not Vegan anymore or something like that. Logan Blake. That's who it is. Sanka, you want to see me debate him? Why do you want to see me debate him? Because obviously you're vegan and you have the vegan viewpoint. Ideologically possessed, eh? It's kind of what I think too. These debates are interesting. I don't mean to show that much chest hair, Jesus. I don't know where these debates and talks can really take us. I enjoy doing them, and YouTube is making it harder and harder to actually put these discussions and debates on. If there's even any controversial topics within these 3-hour-long live streams, they demonetize the entire video. And basically what I think is happening, and I'm onto these vegans, is the last 2 videos that I had with Bobby and Elise are both demonetized. And I debated with myself even sharing this information publicly because they might feel like they're winning or whatever. But yeah, so what's going on is that Bobby and Elise have so many haters that follow them around full time all over the internet that no matter where they go, they will go to media that they are participating in, and they will downvote the video. So you guys can go see my Elise video. I have over 50% dislikes on that video right now. And the Bobby's video is probably around there, maybe 40% dislikes. That in itself is not that bad. But they're flagging the content for harassment. And particularly in the Elise one, the last Elise video that I did on Saturday, we were talking about like feminine hygiene, not feminine hygiene issues, but like shaving, women shaving their legs and stuff like that. And a bunch of feminists came over to my channel from Freely's content, of course, and Freely made a post about me 2 days ago now, and I can probably read some of that that ridiculous thread that she created on her Instagram. So yeah, basically they come over here, they spew their toxic hate, and then they go ahead and they leave dislikes, and they also flag the content for harassment. So YouTube, because of how many people are doing this on my small viewer count channel, there's enough Elise haters and enough Bobby haters that they can actually just go around like a little military and demonetize your content. And Zupi asks, how much money are you losing from a video getting demonetized? The amount is not the matter right now. The fact that it is getting demonetized in the first place is what matters, because as the channel grows, obviously that amount becomes more and more significant. So the point is that for the future, this is not a good sign. And I thought about like what direction I should go with my content, and I think I'm right on the edge of neutral, opinionated, outspoken. I would say that I speak with confidence about these subjects and I share my opinion, but at the same time, I'm not hating people. I even say in the comments, and I said many times, I don't know if I said it in the video last time, but I pointed out, if you don't want to shave, great. That's your choice, and I just said that this is a preference of mine, and I stand by that 100%. I will never like bend the knee to terrorists that are coming here and trying to change my opinion, change my viewpoint forcefully. So there's really, it's something that I take great offense to, is somebody trying to take away somebody else's freedom of speech. And in this case, of course, YouTube is not necessarily a public platform. This is somewhere where people are making money, and marketing people and advertisers are paying money to have people like me share content, and then they obviously attach their advertising to that message. So if YouTube sees it fit genuinely that we can't talk about this stuff, okay. But I know what's going on, and I know this for a fact because when I make clips of the videos of the long live streams, those clips have no issues being monetized and doing their thing. So it comes down to the live streams, and it's really unfortunate because, you know, I'll put in 3 hours of work with you guys here interacting and doing all this stuff, and then those get taken down. So yeah, it's not the best. Peace Reflections. What's up, Good Goy Productions? We got a reflection here. So it's a minor annoyance. Obviously, I'm going to, yeah, Tim Sheaf has a lot of haters, but luckily Tim Sheaf has a lot of lovers too. Enough that it didn't affect the videos that him and I did. Michelle Lowe made a video about how I'm controlling Elise. Is that who you guys are talking about? The crazy vegan lady? Yeah, there's a lot of speculations on all that, and we can get into that before we start this video. Hi Marielle, how's it going? Primal Culture. Vegetable Police has not hit me up. Gable, no, he has not. Yeah, T Tribby, I believe that you're a female. What do you think about those comments? I felt like I was fair and balanced. I even gave the male perspective. You know, a lot of these women who choose to not shave, great, good on them. You don't want to shave for whatever your reasons are. I don't care. Great, don't shave. Whether it's to prove a point, a political point, or because you're too lazy, or because you like the way it feels, absolutely 100% okay with me, whatever the reason is. Now, that being said, if it's also it is also somebody's right to not visually enjoy that or enjoy the touch of that or whatever, right? Like it shouldn't be a sexist comment or some sort of anti-women hateful comment. That is not what that means. That just it's simply a preference. And I even pointed out when I was speaking to Elise that you know how many times, because I'm 5'10". Do you know how many times in my life that I have had a woman say that she prefers men over 6 feet tall in front of me? There's nothing that I can do to change that. Does that make her sexist or some type of elitist woman? That's her preference. I can't be upset at somebody for having a preference based on how they feel attraction wise to somebody. It's like saying I prefer blondes over brunettes. Does that make you blondeist or sexist because you like a certain type of hair color? It doesn't make any sense. It's really weird to me because shaving is not something that's difficult. You know, like if I say I prefer shaved legs, and so, why would somebody be so offended by that? They could literally shave their legs in 10 minutes and it's over. And then they say, you know, they could also not want to do that. That's fine. But being short, not making somebody's height requirement is not something that somebody can change. It's like making fun of somebody for being retarded, right? It's like making fun of a retarded person. They can't change that. They were born that way. People are born a certain height. You can change your shaved legs if you want to for somebody. It's not a difficult thing. Tina says she's been with guys 5'4". She doesn't care. Hey, well, good for you. And I'm sure those guys really appreciate it because they're not at the top of the pecking order when it comes to real life. Vegans really hate real life. When you just, point something out that's standard. Zupi says, Drew, there's an easy solution to just get a couple of million subs like Crowder. He can harass people and call them homophobic slurs and he isn't getting demonetized. Interesting. So what's the solution there? I think, like I said, it's not that my content itself is flagging YouTube to be demonetized. What's going on is that there's enough Elise and Bobby haters to come to those videos where they are presenting with me and they are flagging the content for harassment. And in a relation to how many people that I have viewing my content, which isn't in the millions or the thousands, they're able to affect YouTube to automatically flag me and not allow a manual review. Thank you for your honest criticism there, Salome. You're fine and you get a bit pissed off, but you're still friendly to some vegans and you're open to reasonable discussion. I agree. I try and give a stream of thought. That's all I can really guarantee, is that remain as neutral as possible, give my own genuine stream of thought to you all out there, and that's as good as I can do, is at least be real. I just want to be somebody who's being a real person out here, providing genuine feedback, giving as much transparent information as I possibly can. I don't know what else can be done. Yeah, I agree, Ashley. It is a YouTube issue, and they do need to fix that. I have appealed. Somebody said to appeal it. I have appealed it. And I actually got some correspondence back from Raphael in the YouTube, the YouTube headquarters. And we went back and forth a couple times. And he said that there's not much that he can do about it. And they don't tell you what it is either. They just say, there is something in your stream that conflicts with our guidelines. Like, you figure it out. All 3 hours. You have 3 hours of content. You figure it out. It's a needle in a haystack. T. Tribby says, I'm a woman. I understand how a hairy leg like Freely's might feel like a man in bed and be a turnoff. So, hey, Marielle. What's going on is that some of my videos have been demonetized by the vegan feminist horde. Horde, not the other word that you think I said, feminist, before you go typing to Freely. Oh my God, Drew said this. They screenshot everything I say and they send it to Freely to hopefully get backup. But let's read some of the things, shall we? I think I can pull it up on here. It's ridiculous. It really is really, really ridiculous. Yeah, I don't think you get demonetized for saying curse words, but I am going to temper that because I'd rather give my opinion than use curse words. So I'm going to tone down my amount of curse words because those are unnecessary. That's just for style points. And I don't need to express myself that way. I can temper that. But what I really don't want to do is temper my genuine opinion about things. Ooh, Marielle says she would shave for me in a second. See? What? How? I don't get it. I'm sure, Marielle, some woman would read that and be so upset with you. You can't shave for a man. First of all, I want to point out to these women that were tuning in last stream and hating on me, I have shaved my entire body for years at a time. I used to shave my chest with a razor. I used to shave my arms I only had to do it once a week because I would go out on the weekends. But I shaved my chest and my body all the time because at that time, the girls that I was around preferred that. Nowadays, for whatever reason, most of the girls that I'm around prefer the full male body hair. But I get crap from my friends' girlfriends all the time who dislike the chest hair or whatever. So it's very strange. And I bet you those women who were complaining to me don't have an issue with women talking crap to me. You deserve it. It's crazy. It's really crazy. A great example of that too is, the hypocrisy there is that Freely has breast implants. So she hasn't felt what it's like to be in a genuine bone stock, natural female body in like 10 years. So she doesn't shave her legs. Big deal. She walks around in a bikini with her boobs sticking out of her chest. You don't think that affects the way that people think about her or treat her? Especially men? Are you kidding me? Let's get real here. And I guarantee you, most of the women who complain about men wanting them to shave will then go and critique women who get fake lips and breast implants and other work done on their body. It's their right to not shave, but it's not another woman's right to, enhance themselves for men. What's wrong with that? You are just increasing your visual appeal to some people. Some men may not want any enhancements and they might want a fully unshaven female body. And that's the men that those women should pair up with, right? Like, that's their right. I work out. I like to have a a bit of a more fit body. That's my own thing because I want to project that image out to the world. I think that's my right. And I think it's women's right to want that in a guy. And it's their right to want a 6'2" man if you want. If you are not attracted to men under 6 feet 2 inches tall, great. I am not going to waste my time trying to convince you why that's wrong. I'm just going to find somebody else who's not that strict about it. Freely's a hypocrite. Absolutely, 1,000,000% agree. I can prove it across the board. I can pull up so many dumb things that she says that is that it goes in direct conflict with what she does. Vegan deterioration. Shaving is vegan, but implants are not. People say Freely got Botox. I think that's a little bit harder to prove, especially through photos. But maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I mean, I don't really... I mean, I think even Durian Ryder admitted that she was getting that back when they were together, right? Didn't he say that? Thank you, So Dark. So Dark, I think you're a man and you have a man crush on me. I do appreciate that. Oh, we can't talk gaming. We're going to get too off track here. What I can do is Timmy's going to be in here in a few minutes. I can read some of the things that Freely wrote, and I can post them up on the main screen here. So let's pull that up, yeah? Let's pull this up. This will give us a little bit of something to segue into. Wow, Freely's actual... Hold on, you guys got to see this. This is nuts. Freely's actual thing is radical vegan feminist. That's her tag. You guys seeing this? I didn't even know that. This is what she identifies with. This is what she wants to be known for. Tiana, people say that I am insecure and weak, and the reason why I defend myself and react is because I'm weak. Honestly, I do it for the views. Like I react a little bit more flashy because I know people will pay attention to it. I do not care what these people say about me. It changes the way that I go about my life 0%. I'm 100% confident in the way that I act into the world. So let's go to this post. This was made for me right here. My body hair is the ultimate fuckboy repellent. Look at that. With the water too. With the water too. That's the part that makes it that much more appealing. All right, so she says body hair is the ultimate fuckboy repellent. Toward the end, here, this is all about me basically. Let me move my camera. Toward the end of that video, Drew says, "Death to all vegans," and adds, and they say Elise agrees, but she's shaking her head. Oh, that's what I said. I said, "Death to all vegans." Elise agrees with me. And she's shaking her head as if she doesn't agree. This whole thing gives me chills. Really? Like, these people don't understand that I'm joking? 100% joking? I even say immediately after that, see how people can skew the image of you online? All this Lisa Tropolis person has to say is, this is what I did. But they do not say that immediately after that. I said, I'm totally joking, guys. I'm totally joking. YouTube, by the way, I'm totally joking. Please, I do not hate vegans. I say that in the video, but they do not put that in this text. Very, very dishonest. Here we go. Here's another one. What's up, Bobby? Doesn't Drew date Elise now? She was quite fond of body hair on herself, wasn't she? And look at all these knowledgeable replies. Not only does she now eat animals for him, but she now shaves for him as well. That's not true. Body hair positive account. What do you think that's about? I think Elise has a good heart, but she's been taken in a horrible direction by Drew. She sacrificed her morals, ethics, and values for him. This is what people think on the internet. Timmy, I hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Is the fan annoying you?
I can't hear it.
Okay, great.
So get all set up and let me know when you're ready to rock, and I will pull you in, okay?
Do you think I'm at a standing desk? Do you think I should pull up a chair?
You're going Dr. Gregor on me?
Does he have a stand-up desk?
Yes, he does. He actually has a walking treadmill desk.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm good.
You're good? Okay, I'm gonna pull you in right now. Just catching up with the last bit of comments because I was going on this whole rant about Freely. But
okay.
Okay, guys, we're gonna pull Timmy in right now, and here we go. Timothy Pakron, welcome to the show. I'm gonna do my classic intro for you, and then we can dive in, okay?
Sure.
Okay, guys, so tiny bit of history here. I met Tim about 2 years ago, probably, in Hilo, Hawaii. He was staying there on a vacation trip and also a trip to do a photography workshop, if I'm not mistaken, on how to take wonderful photos of food, vegan food. Tim is also a chef. Tim put on a couple different workshops in the area, if I'm not mistaken. He also did a private dinner event in downtown, hosting about 30 to 50 people.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
so
that.
That was quite a fancy little affair for the little town of Hilo. It was a 6-course dinner, something like this.
Yeah.
People didn't know how to react because it was way too fancy for their Hilo pay grade. So I met Tim. We had some great laughs together. I consider him a very good guy. He lives in Mississippi. Obviously, the name Mississippi Vegan. Again, the main thing that you do is food photography, chefing, and you also enjoy having a bit of wine here and there. Here
and there? You mean every night?
Well, I was gonna let that settle in as the thing went on. I gotta let them, I gotta let them figure it out.
Sure. Well, here and there, just a glass occasionally.
So yeah, that kind of goes for my intro. Tim and I are not. We do not know everything about each other. We've spent just a little bit of time together, and I can say that your food is probably the best home cooked vegan food I've ever had. I would say that hands down.
I remember I made that. It was that peanut stew. Do you remember that?
I think that was for the event. I wasn't there.
So, no, this was at Megan's house when we had the potluck. I think I made the peanut stew, and I remember I made the rice paper bacon, and everyone was freaking out over it.
Oh, I totally forgot that you actually brought that to the whole thing. Yeah, so Tim made rice paper bacon. For those of you that don't know what that is, go Google it. But his version of it is like the fleshed out professional chef, perfect version of it, and everybody was losing their minds.
Well, I think the problem with rice paper bacon is people just use rice paper and then it ends up being a little gummy and it falls flat. So I put shiitake mushrooms thinly sliced in between the rice paper, and then that's what gives it just that texture and the umami and the flavor. And so that's I think that's what really takes it over the top. But I wanted to correct you. So sure. I moved back to Mississippi to write my cookbook, but now I live in New Orleans.
Okay.
So
still in the South.
What was that?
You're still in the South.
Still in the South. I'm in New Orleans, really close to Mississippi, and that's where my parents still live. So, but now I feel like I'm kind of at the epicenter of Southern cooking, because New Orleans is like that hub of like Southern food, Southern cooking, Southern food. And I love that Cajun and Creole cuisine was like invented in New Orleans. I think it's really special because when you think of American food, it's like hot dogs, nachos, hamburgers. So it's nice to be somewhere where actually like a respectable culinary category was created. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, yeah, but it's also not tied into the American category.
Totally.
It's like seen as French influence and just, I guess, Creole, like
African.
African, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you too about, like, are you doing any type of fancy, because I know they like shrimp down there.
They love shrimp. They love crab. Love like fresh seafood. You know, my parents, I grew up around fresh seafood. The funny thing is I've always had an aversion to seafood. So I never liked fish or oysters, or I guess I liked crab all right, because when you deep fry it and put a sauce on it, it's good. But yeah, I always had kind of an aversion to seafood. I still have an aversion to like really potent seaweed. If it really smells like fish, it kind of is offensive to me. But yeah, I also was going to say, I don't call myself a chef because I haven't had professional training. So what I do these days is I just call myself a blogger. So I have a blog, I create recipes, I photograph the recipes, and I share them and I talk about them. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I'm a cookbook author.
Well, that's fine, but I'm going to let everybody know that you might be unprofessionally trained, but the bottom line is your food work, it speaks for itself. The photos are insane. I mean, of course it's vegan food, so a lot of my audience is probably not interested, but his photos are amazing. I recommend you guys to go check out his Instagram, and then the quality of the food, the taste is phenomenal as well. So yeah,
you're very sweet. I remember the last thing we talked about was chia seeds. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Of course. the chia poops.
And you were saying to consume, was it like a fourth a cup or half a cup of chia?
I was eating a third of a cup a day.
Yeah,
every day.
It has that like gelatinous texture, and so it helps to make you regular. So do you still consume chia seeds?
I don't. Nope.
Okay, no. They're cut out. No more chia seeds.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for, I mean, really the only plants that I'm consuming on a consistent basis that I buy are berries.
Right. So like, would you say like small amounts of high quality berries?
I would say high quality in terms of their flavor. I don't always buy, the $12 a pound blueberries from the farmer's market. Sometimes I buy the $3 a pound, but here in Southern California, we get all this stuff is shipped up probably from Mexico anyways. Mm-hmm. So we're getting like the first pick of the conventional fruits. So we have extremely high quality conventional fruit. If like, I know that people will say that's, I'm not juicing greens. And I do believe that if you were going to be juicing greens, you probably want to stick with organic 100%, right, because you don't want to be taking in like, 100 times the human potential of glyphosates or whatever. But anyway, so
I have a pink lemonade blueberry bush in my backyard, and then I have a regular blueberry bush, and it's so nice to be able to just go in the backyard and pick blueberries. I highly recommend you for some.
I'm sure that's absolutely amazing. My friend grew strawberries once, and they were the best strawberries I've ever had, and they come out like little tiny ones, but they're so good.
Well, you realize too, when you're growing, especially like a baby plant, you're not going to be able to eat buckets and buckets of blueberries. So when you get that one little handful, it's really special. So like I had my one handful, and I was like, savoring each little berry. We're so spoiled now because we can get, everything year round, but it's nice to remind yourself that it does have to come from a bush,
Exactly. And I do talk about those things in nature. I try and put them into context based on the way that I eat now and the way that, the way that I used to eat. And I do try and bring that all together because, of course, you grow stuff. You've been a gardener for years. Like you have a little garden that you've tended. And that stuff is hard to get.
When I lived in New York, I couldn't. But I was at the Union Square Farmers Market 3 days a week. I mean, that Union Square Farmers Market really gave me my career because it taught me so much of what I know now, and it enabled me to document so much amazing content. So that's what really kind of lit the fire under me. And then I was like, okay, I have to move to the South so I can have space to grow stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did.
Let's move into the potential topics for today. So what I like to do is whenever somebody calls upon a meeting with me here on the channel, which is what you did with me, I like to give them the floor first. So any topics or questions that you want to bring up first, we can definitely go start down that road. And
well, I've been following along this, everything involved with everything that's going on. And I think I'm a unique vegan because I've been vegan for 13 years. I'm an ethical vegan, but the first 2 years of my veganism, I was raw vegan. So I was in that world. And this was when YouTube was just starting. And I remember that was when Freely and Harley just started. I was watching Megan Elizabeth's YouTube before like anyone else. I mean, she was like one of the first people. And that's how I knew about the Woodstock Fruit Festival. But it's funny because that was such a long time ago where I was a part of that world. But I'm still, even though I'm not raw vegan and I don't eat fruit, I don't eat a lot of fruit at all, I am still like up to speed on what's going on because unfortunately, there has been more drama and more scandals and more just drama, like tabloid drama in the raw vegan movement. It is shocking how much has gone on, and it's really fascinating because it's like, what is this movement even about? Like, why is there so much drama? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been kind of fascinating to watch everything unfold. But yeah, so I saw people that were coming onto your channel. I obviously am familiar with what transition you're going through. But what I realized is I felt like my perspective and my voice wasn't really being represented with the people you were interviewing, which is fine. But that's why I wanted to come on here. And I'm super thankful and appreciative for you to have me.
Oh yeah, no, I love that you reached out to me because it's such a breath of fresh air from, I always say that I can't just keep interviewing people on my team as far as I can't just keep having carnivores on the show and everybody's just echo chambering. That is the opposite of the material that I would want to see. And, you're still vegan. We have met in person, so it's not like we have a bad relationship, but at the same time, we're probably going to maybe disagree on some of the ethical propositions or whatever. And I do want to say that as far as the ethical stuff goes, that is specifically an area of my channel that is an area where I do not like to take it on my channel. Although I will absolutely open it up with you in conversation today, but it's not something that I go out of my way to bring up because I know it's more emotionally charged and it's more easily debated because there's less rules about what it means to be ethical. Like somebody needs to create that in the first place. Like when we say I'm vegan for health, we kind of know what that means. It means not sick, Whereas ethical, it's like, okay, well, do you value this life over this life because it's bigger or because the animal's smarter or has more fur or barks? How do we determine that stuff? So that is all I would like to say. So if there's anything that I've said that you disagree with, that you want me to like elaborate on or share more about, we can do that.
Well, Drew, here's the deal. You're a human, I'm a human. Okay.
Yes,
so we have that in common.
We do.
And we both like delicious food. So let's let it stem from that. I have learned how to answer a lot of questions differently in my life, especially being vegan for as long as I have been. And my goal is to never come across as condescending. I never want to make someone feel like I'm judging them because I've been judged and it's one of the worst feelings ever. It's like, you're judging me, like it sucks. So that's not where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? Like my veganism is a celebration of love. It's a celebration of abundance. I am so busy eating delicious food all the time and talking about it. I have no time for drama. I have no time for arguing with someone who doesn't agree with, my stance ethically. Like, that's not what I'm here to talk about. If you want to research that, I invite you to research the nitty-gritty details. We live in an age where you can access so much information about why I would be vegan. You know what I mean? I'm so busy talking about what I am doing. I'm so happy because I'm focusing on what I love. And so at the end of the day, that's really what I'm all about. But what I wanted to say about the ethics, without getting into nitpicky details, and what's interesting is when I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and I'm sure your people are familiar with that.
They probably know what it is. But for those of you that don't know what the Woodstock Fruit Festival is, it's an event held every year by Michael Arnstein, and at least up until this last year. And yeah, it's been going on for 7, 8, 9 years. It brings in a bunch of it's all raw for the week. Everybody's eating a bunch of fruit. There's no cooked food on the premises, even though people do.
This because this is why I'm bringing it up. Okay. Would you say that most of the high profile vegans are the vegans that you've been talking to that are no longer eating a vegan diet? Would you say that they're stemming from the raw vegan movement and somehow are associated with the Woodstock Fruit Festival?
Some of them, yes, but I also want to point out that some of them are equally associated, and I'll point out his name, Ted Carr, is a good example of this, that is also still vegan and still doing their thing as a vegan. So it's probably totally. Half and half.
I'm just saying that the people that, from what I've noticed, the people that we've been focusing on who are no longer eating a vegan diet and saying that they're no longer vegan are coming from, especially the whole Hawaii crew. You guys were all about raw food, fruit, eating fruit is the foundation of your diet. And the high profile people, Raw Alignment, Ravana, Timothy Sheaf, all these people are coming from the raw vegan movement and have probably been to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. So that's
I would say
I'm laying
yes.
down the foundation for that.
Yes, I agree with you.
And that's why I wanted to come on here, because you're not talking to the regular schmegular degular vegans like me who are eating potatoes and drinking wine, and we're not eating fruit as the foundation of our diet. So, right. But what I will say is I was raw vegan at one point a long time ago. That led me to the Woodstock Fruit Festival. And I love that environment because it was about eating nutrient-dense food and feeling your best. And I went there when I was living in New York because it was easy for me to get there. I went 2 years. And actually, I think I went 3 years. Regardless, I went there to not drink alcohol, to not do any drugs, and to just eat fruit and leafy greens, because that's all they offer there.
Like a cleanse almost.
Water. And I felt amazing. And I was so excited to be at a raw vegan event, even though most people in my life thought I was crazy. And they were like, "You're going to go do what?" So I was there. And at this point, I was ethical vegan. Okay. I was serving at 2 different vegan restaurants. I wasn't eating a lot of fruit. And I wasn't vegan for health reasons. I think my veganism, the eating healthier and eating no cholesterol was kind of just a bonus, right? So when I was at the Woodstock Fruit Festival and I was talking to people, I realized no one was talking about ethics. No one was talking about animals. No one was talking about sustainability. We were eating imported tropical fruit by the tons, durian from Malaysia, dragon fruit, all kind of stuff from all over the world. And we were eating it and we were talking about fruit. And even when we had a little event there was like an event where they had tables set up, people were selling books and stuff. Are you reading comments or comments coming in?
No, I'm maneuvering my camera on. So I have you here. When I'm looking here, I'm looking at you. My camera's there. My third screen is here, and I have another screen over here just in case we need to pull stuff up.
You're multitasking. So okay.
I'm looking around, but I'm focused. I'm focused.
No, yeah. So I just didn't know if someone was like, "Who is it?"
No, I can't pay attention to them right now. And I'm sorry, guys. I cannot, because I have to focus here.
So what I noticed was we were just talking about fruit and eating healthy food, and basically talking about, eating to this point where you have this like heightened energy because you're eating such pure, clean food. And I'll be honest, that's what drew me to eating a raw vegan diet. I remember when I saw the definition, it was like, you can eat everything provided to you in nature in its raw state and form. And at that time, when I was 20 and my mind was wide open, I loved that because I'd never heard anything like that. But the point I'm making is, I quickly realized that it wasn't an ethical vegan event at all. At the little event where they had stands, there wasn't farm sanctuaries. No one was talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, I remember talking to people and they were like, oh yeah, well, sometimes I eat eggs. And I was like, okay, like that's kind of weird to hear at a festival. And then I remember hearing one of the main high profile people at the festival sometimes eats oysters. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess this isn't really a vegan event, is it? And they would say it so nonchalantly, like, yeah, well, like it's a nutrient-dense food. Like I'm eating it for my health. So I realized it's really about health, this section of the vegan movement. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming from all the way, I'm trying to get this right. I'm coming from a completely separate direction. Can you see me?
Yeah.
I'm coming from a completely separate direction of veganism. And it's almost like it's divided. And so the conundrum that's happening is people are using raw vegan interchangeably with vegan, or even when they're saying vegan, they're meaning like eating a high fruit diet that has nothing to do with the ethics. So I feel like that's kind of the conundrum. And so what I'm realizing now is my definition of veganism is completely different than most people's definition of veganism. Okay. And if I ask you what your definition of veganism is, what would it be?
It's to do the least amount of harm to animals and nature as feasibly possible. That's always been my definition.
Was that the definition of veganism you were living by, or were you living by the definition of I'm going to eat only plants as the foundation of my diet?
No, I was. I mean, that's what pisses me off when people say that you were never vegan. It's like, no, I was vegan. I wasn't eating a plant-based diet and then buying leather upholstery to adorn my room with. I wasn't hanging antlers in my house. I was legitimately vegan. I was checking every single label for any animal foods, any animal products. I never bought a single thing other than complete accident. And I made a like judicious effort to not purchase these things. So I would say that from like for the time that I was vegan, I would say probably as vegan as you in terms of the care for the animals, not harming anything. I think even for a very long period of time, I wasn't even killing insects and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the deal. I have no right to come on here and say that you were not vegan. Mm-hmm. I have no right to come on here and tell you that your relationship to the word vegan isn't valid. It is valid. And you did have that experience. What I will say is, my definition of veganism, it was in my relationship to the word, it was an internal shift in my spirit and in my heart. And when I read the definition, similar to what you just said, basically celebrating any decision that reduces the suffering and exploitation and cruelty to animals as much as possible. When I read that, and basically living in alignment with my ethics and eating a foundation of plants, mushrooms, all of that, I realized that I had always felt this way. It was so easy for me to align with that. I realized that someone had coined a word that kind of represents how I feel. And so at this point, we have different relationships with the word. And in your world, you had a pretty close relationship with the word, and now you no longer really have a relationship with it, or that relationship has dissolved and it's turned into something else. And for me, it hasn't. And for me, it's like I said, it was an internal shift, and it's a way that I view the world now. So that's just really where I'm at. And I'm not here to say that you're wrong and I'm right. It's just, that's just what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I do want to like delineate this thing, and this is probably something you haven't considered before, is that so you align with ethical vegan as your foundation to your, you know, your person basically, like it's part of you. But what I would say is you are more so coming at it from the spiritual vegan standpoint, which I want to be clear with people. This is different than ethical veganism, in my opinion, because we have seen this hot debate. I don't know if you've been following the ethical debate going on, but there's this sort of, it's proven now that if you eat a local grass-fed diet of animals, it's actually less harmful to animals by numbers. It's clear to see that this is the case. For instance, you know, theoretically, I could grow cows in my backyard, and I could have a little herd of cows that, you know, roam around in the happy land, and I could kill one cow every few months to feed my family. So theoretically, I'm killing a couple of animals a year to feed my whole family, right? And we would get all the nutrition that we need. Maybe we have some little ducks and chickens out there that pop out some eggs, you know, no stress on them either. Because by the way, you've been to Hawaii, you've seen how many people have chickens out there, or maybe even in the South.
Ethically, I don't have a problem if you have chickens and hens and you know someone and there's eggs flying around. Ethically, I don't have a problem with that. Right. I don't.
And I think a smart vegan will say that.
What happens is, it's. I wish I had a dime for every time someone talks about it. They say, "Oh yeah, well, what about that?" It's like, that's great. Then they're going to a restaurant, they're eating factory farmed eggs. It's
yes,
like,
that's what I do.
You know what I mean? So it's tricky. And so what you're saying about the cow situation, that's great. I think that is a step in the right direction. Anything that we can do, which is similar to what we were doing 100, 200 years ago, is going to be better than what we're doing now. But I think that you can be an ethical vegan and a spiritual vegan. And my ethical veganism stems from, it comes from my heart. I don't want to rattle off statistics. I don't want to
that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying it comes from your heart because I understand that feeling of like, I don't feel good eating animals. If somebody tells me that, great. Like, that is the best reason to be a vegan, in my opinion, hands down. Well, somebody's like, I don't feel it.
And that's what happens. So when people say like, well, would you ever want to eat, this or this? And when I see animal products, and once again, this is my relationship to the word, and this is my opinion, and I'm not trying to judge anyone out there. When I see animal products, I get really sad. I get upset. I get overwhelmed with emotions, and it breaks my heart. And when I think about eating a dead animal or a byproduct that comes from an innocent animal that has been exploited and that has been ripped away from its children and that has been kept alive purely for the resource to provide to humans, it does make me really upset. And so I would so much rather eat plants and mushrooms and go out to a fruit tree that the fruit tree wants you to eat its fruit. It wants you to take the fruit and spread its seed. You know, I've grown tomato plants. I've grown squash plants. These are resilient plants that are trying to offer their product to the world so that you can spread their seed. So I think planting a seed and growing a plant is just the most effective, beautiful thing anyone can do. And when going back to your cow thing, I think if people were raising their own animals and they were killing their own animals and they were connected with eating the animal by killing it, I respect that so much more than just going out to eat and ordering a steak or any kind of animal product.
Now, I think so far everything that you've said, I can't disagree with any of it. And that's not what we're here to do. But you know, it's interesting to see where we differ. We're not here to disagree with each other.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I just wanted to say.
So you were saying you agreed with everything I said?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I do want to, maybe get more into this like little ethical side point here, is that when we do talk about, like, you associate the pain and the suffering of the animal in that packaged piece of beef on the shelf, right? Like, it doesn't make you feel good to see it. You're like, that's a cow tongue. That makes me feel terrible.
Like, I don't view it for me, I don't view that as like, oh, that's food. That's a source of nutrients. That's sustenance. I view it as, oh, wow, that was a factory farm cow that was cut up and put in a piece of plastic and a piece of styrofoam and put on the shelf.
I hear you. And there's a huge piece of me when I was vegan that felt that exact same way. Now, I didn't have a huge emotional response to it. Perhaps that's because I grew up fishing and stuff like that. I have, gutted my own fish and done those things, which I never saw as a big deal.
Not to interrupt you, but wouldn't you say that if we're splitting hairs here, that's what I'm talking about with the relationship to the word veganism? You're saying you got close to it, but it kind of stopped at a certain point, which is fine. It didn't stop for me there. I went all the way through that connection, and it resonated with my heart. And so that's where I'm at. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, when I'm saying your definition of veganism is different than mine, our experiences are different. So
absolutely.
That's, and I remember I was hunting with my friend and his dad, and we shot guns and we killed a duck. And I remember I was a terrible shot, obviously, but they shot a duck and it didn't kill it. And the duck fell down. And I remember I was holding the duck, and I was really upset. And I was like looking at this duck, and the duck was like, could barely move. And the dad was like, what are you doing? Like, why do you care about the duck?
Right.
And I realized then that, oh my God, I don't like this. But what's funny is I didn't make the connection, because I was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 11, but I didn't make the connection then to going out to eat and eating whatever. I was just letting so many people curate everything I was eating in my life. And it wasn't until I was 20 that I moved into my first apartment. I went grocery shopping, and I realized, oh, I like to eat all of these healthy foods. I like to eat plants and mushrooms. And that was when I really realized that I had been letting people, curate every food choice in my life up until that point.
Well, I want to get more into that, but where I was going with the whole thing that I was talking about before was, as far as the ethics go, when you see the cow tongue on the shelf, that's an obvious connection to that animal. But what's less obvious, and I think is most vegans are completely oblivious to, is that there are animals killed in the production of many vegan foods, especially when you consider the conventional vegan food market. And you've even had people like Jackson Foster, Plantriotic, who has a degree in, I forgot exactly what it is, but he went to Colorado State, I believe, and it was in environmental science or something like that, where he knows full well from an objective point of view that there are many animals killed in the harvest of vegan food. So when you see rice on the shelf or you see pasta, you're not thinking dead animal. However, in reality, there's many little chipmunks and gophers and stuff like that ground up in that process. And I think a lot of people are turning a blind eye to that. And it's only recently that that's even been considered as a real thing.
Totally.
But it is.
And what I would say is veganism doesn't equal perfection. And what would be better? Eating ground up beef cow with the pasta, or eating the pasta with vegetables. It's like, we can't be perfect. Like, I'm fully aware that animals and insects are essentially are going to be hurt or die in large agriculture. But I think it's like, what's the other answer? Like, oh, you're right. Like, I guess I should just not be vegan and I should just eat cheeseburgers all day. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I hear you. And my thing isn't, okay, does that mean you think everybody in the world should go carnivore? I say no, because actually I am not that interested in the ethical or environmental debate. I am open about that.
Right.
So you do whatever you want, even if as long as you're not burning trash piles next to my house and smoking me out. I really don't care what people are doing, because guess what? There's third world countries all over the world that are doing the craziest, gnarliest shit. They have real wars going on.
Right.
Their priority list is so far above caring about animal rights. This is like a luxury that we have here, basically in the US and like Europe. We can actually talk about this.
Well, I think what happens is, coming from your perspective, we're looking at these products and then it's like, okay, well, you don't want to hurt animals. So let's really think about any animals that are being hurt with this product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's valid. I mean, animals are being hurt, but at the same time, just because we can't do everything and it can't be perfect doesn't mean that we can't do something. So you can't sit here and say eating pasta made from wheat that, sure, it probably is associated with some animals that are hurt, is going to be the same as eating an actual dead animal. You know what I mean? Because it's just not the same thing. It's like there's different.
Well, let's just do a little mental experiment here. And again, I don't know how accurate these numbers are, but I just want to hear your perspective on it.
Sure.
Let's say in theory, I could kill I could harvest 800 pounds of meat from one cow, which I think is actually pretty accurate.
Uh-huh.
So I kill I kill 2 cows a year. 2 cows a year. I feed myself all year. And then I eat eggs and whatever. Now, to eat wheat and pasta and all the other vegan foods that you eat, you kill 3 gophers per year equivalent in your food production. So I don't know how I've heard vegans argue, and this is the best argument that they have against this particular cow exercise, is they say that vegans produce more or less deaths per million calorie. If that is the case, then they win that argument, in my opinion. But let's say mental gymnastics, I kill 2 cows, you kill 3 gophers. Who wins? Who's the bad guy?
It's so funny, Drew, because and you might remember this when you associated with the word vegan, you're put in a situation where it's like kind of ridiculous. Like you're stranded on an island and there's one animal, and if you don't eat it, you're not going to live. Like,
right.
Are we really at that point where we're going to split hairs that way? What I'll say is the best thing anyone and everyone can do is go to your local farmer's market and buy the products there. Any of the animal products there are going to be far better than factory farm animal products. Any of the vegetables there are going to be grown locally and they're going to be in season. So I think that's the best thing that we can do. But when it comes to like making these decisions, like what's better in this crazy hypothetical situation, like, are you raising a cow and are you harvesting it for your family and are you living off that? Then let's wait until you get to that point to have the conversation.
So I've got to become a sustainable rancher, and then I get to be the king almighty of the vegan argument.
Well, it's just funny. Like, what's the point of playing these mental gymnastics? Like, you know what I mean?
I hear you, but listen, we were both.
It's a bore. It's such a bore, Drew.
I don't want to be a bore.
I'd rather talk about delicious food, and I'd rather make people realize that my vegan food is just food, okay? I wrote a cookbook. I happen to be vegan, so the food is vegan. But when I say okra and black-eyed peas and peanuts and watermelon and shiitake mushroom and lion's mushroom and green beans and sweet potatoes, that's all food, okay? It just happens to be vegan because it's a plant or a mushroom. So I think we have to relate more. You are eating vegan food. You're eating berries. Like, that's amazing. You're eating really nutrient-dense berries. That's vegan.
That's true. And coffee. Okay,
and
so
I want to give you a situation where I can show you that I'm not a perfect vegan. So I am setting up a very large garden where I'm growing my own food. I'm so excited about it. I'm building my own raised beds. I'm doing research on how to create my own soil, because most soil you buy at the store is ground up like bird feathers and blood meal, and there's some fish that can be involved. So I figured out how to make my own vegan soil. I'm super excited about it. But I needed a truck. So I got a truck so that I'm able to get my own soil, get my own wood, get my own gravel. And did you know that it's damn near impossible to get a truck that doesn't have any leather?
Yeah.
It's impossible. I looked. Yep. So my truck has leather. Mm-hmm. And
brand new, or was it used?
What?
Did you buy brand new or was it used?
No, this was new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bad vegan.
What?
Bad vegan.
I know. So it's like, so then what happens? So how do we look at it? Like, is it fair for me to even it out by growing an heirloom, organic vegetable garden so that I can document those vegetables, create recipes that are vegan, put them on my blog, so that my form of activism with veganism is for people to make delicious recipes using plants and mushrooms, which I think is the most effective form of activism, because I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not talking about ethics. I'm just getting people in their kitchen, they're making delicious vegan food, and they're celebrating it, and they're sharing it with their friends and family. It's really touching, and it's amazing. And every day my message is to try to promote veganism in a positive way. So what happens when I have this truck as leather? Do I say, you know what? I couldn't do this perfectly, so I guess I'm just gonna give up. I can't do it all perfectly, so I guess I'm no longer vegan, and let's go get a Whopper at Burger King.
Well, okay, I see your point there. I agree with you. You, in my opinion, you are evening it out and then some times 1,000. But again, in my example, it's not apples to apples comparison, because this is something that you will be doing on a ongoing basis. And again, with the 2 cows and the 3 gophers, that situation is, in theory, you, for the rest of your life, you will then be killing more animal lives than I will be killing. And then, of course, you add in the health aspect of it. And I do want to shift the conversation over to that. I know that you even said you are not a health-focused vegan, but what I do notice is that the people who are not health-focused vegans and that are ethical vegans, who are just very relaxed with their diet, I would say they eat more like I would relate their diet more to a standard American diet, more so than like a health-focused vegan diet or like a healthy keto person's diet. Like, those are the people who sustain long term because they're just not really concerned at all about the health aspect. So if they wake up with a couple extra creaks and rattles in their bones, they're cool. If they got a little extra weight on them, they're cool. They're generally not trying to participate in sports or anything like that. They're not pushing their bodies to that extent where they see that the fuel, the type of fuel, the animal fuel and the plant fuel is different. It's like diesel fuel and regular, 91 octane or whatever. It's like, it's 2 different kinds of fuel for the body. And I'm not saying that the body can't utilize both of them. We certainly can. And we know we can live on carbs for a long period of time. We know we can live on animal foods for a long period of time. And maybe the best optimization is having a little bit of both. I think we're still learning what that ratio is. Mm-hmm. But from what I've seen, the people who were promised health as a vegan, because if you do go to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, there's going to be all kinds of wild promises. You're going to basically turn superhuman if you eat raw vegan, right? Like, come on, let's both be honest there. So if you start following along in those steps and you do gain some benefits at first, let's say you're a very obese person, you hit the Woodstock Fruit Festival, you had the best week of your life, you met all these amazing people, you go home, you start eating a mostly raw vegan diet, you keep losing weight, you keep feeling better. Okay, great. Now, what happens 2-3 years later when you stop feeling better? You actually start kind of feeling worse and worse and worse and worse, which is what I think that we've been seeing with a lot of the long-term health-focused vegans, the people who get into it for health. Whereas I feel like an ethical vegan is more apt to ignore the symptoms of the deficiencies or the lack of nutrition in the vegan diet. And another thing too is somebody who's less health focused, somebody like yourself who's making delicious food and can serve it up to people. It's it's more easy to get your calories in. I think it's easier to have a wide range of nutrients and stuff like that. But again, it's not going to be the most performance-oriented or health-oriented diet. So you are giving up something. It's just we don't exactly know what it is. And I feel like people who are ethical vegans are more apt to, again, ignore the bad symptoms. They're just going to say, okay, well, I just don't eat healthy anyway.
I think it's interesting you're choosing the word ignore. I mean, I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe that you feel great, by the way.
I felt great for, my whole life. And I'm so thankful for that. And I definitely know that I could lose some weight. I know that I could gain some more muscle. I know that I would feel better if I didn't drink a bottle of wine every night. I know that I would probably be better off if I wasn't drinking a stimulant like coffee every morning. And I feel my best when I eat dark leafy greens and non-sweet fruit like cucumbers and tomatoes. I feel great when I eat celery, and I feel great when I eat raw nuts and seeds. And what I've noticed in the, I guess you're saying now, the health vegan movement is, and everyone I know from the Woodstock Food Festival is, I think you guys have a heightened awareness to your symptoms and how you feel. And to be quite honest, I think a lot of the people in that movement are obsessed with it. And I think people are going into that movement already having a lot of health problems. And so I'm not surprised at all that the people in the movement are eating animal products, because you guys are talking about the animal products exactly the same way that you were talking about fruit when you were eating fruit. And so I do think it's interesting when I hear all these stories of like, well, I had to eat this. It's like, my God, all of these problems, like so many symptoms. So you're saying I'm ignoring them, but then I'm hearing people, it's like brain fog. I had all these rashes on my skin. Like I was lethargic. Like, I mean, it's just symptom after symptom. I'm like, I mean, geez, like, wow, you have a lot of problems. Like, I feel really bad for you. Like, I want you to feel better. Like, I'm just living my life, I'm just making recipes and you can't even function because of brain fog. Like, wow, like, do whatever it takes. But what I've noticed is the people in that movement are just like, I feel like they're almost obsessed with having a problem and trying to fix it. I really do. And
I agree with that, by the way.
I can't. What'd you say?
I agree with that. I agree. I think that people, I talked about this the other day, people who create their own bad luck, like they have one bad luck thing and they like to tell, they're like, man, this happened to me. And then it just keeps rolling on, and they like to share about how they have bad luck. I feel like there's a lot of people who have these symptoms that keep popping up, and they're always like working on something. They're always cleansing something. I want to move on from that shit.
Something. It's like Jesus, you are full-time problematic.
Right.
And so at the same time, I know that these people are saying they're eating animal products and they feel better, but from their track record, I don't really see that being long-term. I'm sure in a few months, it'll be something else. They'll be like, well, I can't eat meat anymore because it makes me bloated and it makes me constipated, and I was having brain fog and I couldn't function and I couldn't do my job. It's like, I mean, honestly, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I'm not trying to be flippant here, and I'm not trying to disregard that people don't feel good. I think that the same way that I'm obsessed with eating delicious food and being a foodie and cooking, and it's all I talk about. It's all I want to talk about. It's my job. My job is to make food and take pretty pictures of it. So I am obsessed with that, but I do feel like a lot of these people are just obsessed with having a problem and fixing a problem, and they use diet to that's how they talk about it. It's like they talk about just the consumption.
I love that. I agree with you, and I think it's one of the best arguments that a vegan could make for their point. There's nothing I can say to that. That's. I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of people on both sides. Don't get me wrong. There's people who have chronic symptoms, or it's new symptoms that pop up even on the keto side that don't even know anything about vegan, right?
Right.
But I do want to say, like you just pointed out that very curious thing about how you're obsessed with making good food and taking pictures of it, and you enjoy that. And I feel like,
well, I'm an artist. My job is to be creative. My job is to be creative.
Let's talk about.
Go ahead.
I was going to bring up somebody who's not so creative. Let's just take your average cigarette smoker, and this is where I say that people are ignoring the symptoms. It's not like you're having symptoms and you don't feel them at all, and you're just saying, "Oh, that doesn't exist." I'm saying that they're more willing to make excuses and or justifications for those symptoms. Like you just said, you could lose a little bit of weight, right?
Oh.
So in your mind, what I theorize is that you know that you love eating the food so much that it's worth it to you to carry around a few extra pounds. And at the end of the day, it doesn't you're not super motivated to lose the weight because you are
Drew,
justifying the food.
It gets a little bit more complicated than that because I like guys that are squishy. So
yes, you do.
I'm really attracted to guys that are plump and have a belly. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I kind of
you're treading on thin line here, because I got in trouble the other day for saying that I prefer women with shaved legs, and now you're preferring squishy. Tim prefers squishy men. I'm not squishy, so I'm offended. By the way, you hear this? Somebody text freely, guys. Text freely. Tim is denying me. Okay, go on.
I like guys that are squishy and hairy, so it's more complicated than carrying around a few pounds. Like, okay, I like the way that I look, and I think I look nice. And
I do too.
And I have been really skinny, and I have been really active, and I did yoga a lot, and I felt amazing. You know what I mean? But what I will say is all I did was focus on eating healthy food and exercising. And I didn't have time to have a career like I do now. So I'm trying to find a balance. I think we're all trying to find a balance. You know, I want to feel my best. And I think eating a whole food, plant and mushroom, and I say plant and mushroom because mushrooms aren't plants, a whole food, plant and mushroom based diet that's rich in color, that's abundant in dark leafy greens and non-sweet fruits and small amounts of high quality fruit, you know, and exercising, getting fresh air, sunshine, and being positive and shedding love on people. I think that's what works for me. So that's what I do.
I love it. I just have to. I freak out if I can't finish a point, so I'm sorry if I'm being obsessive. But
I feel like I don't want to keep it. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I like it, and thank God that I can remember where I left off in conversations these days, because for a while I wasn't able to do that. So
it was the brain fog.
The brain. See, you know the big brain
fog. Now you're eating meat, and it's now you can think clearly.
Yes. Also, the coffee helps. So here's what I was saying. Okay, a cigarette smoker, right? A cigarette smoker knows that what they're doing is not healthy, but they also kind of just like if a cigarette smoker wakes up and their throat is a little scratchy the next morning, or maybe they're feeling what's that?
You feel gross. I used to smoke.
Same, yeah. So yeah, exactly. I did too. Plenty of party nights, smoking, a lot. So you feel gross. But it's like to be expected. Like you did this, now there's the outcome. You're not going to be whining to people about how you, for some reason, you don't feel good. Like you know why you don't feel good if you're a pack-a-day cigarette smoker. I guess my point there is when you are engaging in something like that, like openly saying that I'm not really concerned with health-focused veganism, then pretty much any little aches and pains that you have, you're just willing to sort of roll with it. And I'm not saying that that's a good or bad. I actually admire that quality, people that are kind of robust in that way. And yes, you said a smart thing too, is that people who engage in veganism for the health aspect, a lot of times, I think they do have a heightened sensitivity to their own symptoms. And who knows if that's going to pay off long-term in life, or if that's going to...
Hypochondriac.
Potentially. Or they could also be...
There's a lot of disorders associated with raw veganism. There's orthorexia, which I actually had. It's an obsession with eating nutrient-dense It's all you talk about. You drive everyone in your life absolutely insane. And then there's also hypochondriacs. These are people that are obsessed with having a problem, and they're quick to convince themselves, like, I have this, like something's wrong with me. My God. It's all from this movement. The regular, smegular, degular vegans I know, no. They might be like, I'm hungover from drinking, but they're never pinpointing like, I think I've been surrounded by mold, and that's no shade on Elise. I'm just trying to make points, but it's like, it's like, I don't know. It's just, I hear a lot of problems. I hear a lot of problems, more so than anywhere else.
I agree with you. I think that, well, I mean, there's no way that I can say, well, I can definitively say that health-focused vegans are more likely to leave veganism than an ethically founded and grounded vegan.
I love that.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah. That's great. And I think that I came on here, I'm having a great time. And I remember seeing you having fun. We had a great conversation. And I feel like that's the connection that we have. And I feel like just because we have different diets doesn't mean that we can't be friends. Look, so many people in my life that I love and adore. No one in my family is vegan. Okay. I have plenty of friends that aren't vegan, and I love them and I spend time with them. And it's just like, I don't live my life in that way where it's like, well, you're not vegan, I can't be associated with you. Like, that's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
Well,
what a boring life.
Agreed. That's great. And that is bridging the gaps. And we are more similar than people want to think. But you almost brought tears to my eyes right there, literally, because something that I've been humbled by and I really appreciated is now that I'm not vegan anymore and I'm just able to go to any restaurant that I want with any group of friends and just eat up. It's like, I so much appreciate the people that were willing to go to vegan restaurants with me. Like, how much do they really care about being friends with me to actually go do that with me? Because if you're not vegan, it's a pain in the ass. It's weird. And it's like, I don't want to eat a Gardein burger now. Like, now I do not want to eat a Gardein burger. You couldn't force me to eat it. So for me to go to like Native Foods, which was a common thing that I would go do with my friends, like, I can't see myself doing that now. Like, I would have a harder time going out to eat at a vegan restaurant with vegan friends now than my omnivore friends had with me as a vegan. Does that make sense? Like, I went through that. Now I'm just like, dude, I can't put that food into my body for now, is the way that I look at it.
Yeah.
No,
I think we all have to stop being so selfish, and we have to realize that, okay, we have to all live here together and we have to make compromises. And, it's like, I go out to eat with my friends at non-vegan restaurants all the time. And, you have to just really ask, like, do I enjoy the company of this person, and do I want to see them? And it's like, I don't want to make it about ethics or veganism all the time. It's exhausting. It's like,
yeah,
I've made this decision. I live my life this way. I'm happy, and that's really what I focus on. But that's look. And the other reason I wanted to come on here is because I know a lot of vegans are crazy, and I know vegans are quick to attack. I used to be that vegan. I used to be that vegan that wouldn't back down. I'd argue with everyone. I wanted to have those, mental gymnastic conversations all the time. And it just like, you just go into this direction where it's like you're cornered and you're frustrated, and then you cause animosity. No one's happy. You're not friends with the person anymore. They think you're crazy. You think they're awful. And it's no good. But I have vegans judge me all the time. I'm an influencer. So I work with brands to highlight their products. And I work with companies that are not completely vegan. The product I'm working with is vegan. And this comes down to the car and having leather, or getting on an airplane that has animal byproducts, or being a part of we live in a non-vegan world. So we're going to have to be involved
compromises
with animal products. So
you're gonna have to make compromises.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying, oh fuck, now I forgot my point.
Sorry. Rubber in the airplanes. No, it's just the weed. Just kidding.
But what I'm saying is, to all the vegans out there that you're just starting out and you're really passionate about it, just be careful not to judge other vegans. Like we're all trying to do our best. And at the end of the day, the advice that I can give to everyone, vegan or non-vegan, is go to your local farmer's market, buy products there, try to grow your own food, and be connected with your food choices as much as possible. If you are connected and you really truly understand like the process of where your food's coming from, I have so much more respect for you, whether you're vegan or not. I have so much more respect for you. And I think if we could focus on going back to like in the 1800s, where we were growing our own food and we were harvesting our own animals and we were doing everything locally, and we weren't using plastic all the time, and people were just living off the land. Like I think that's so beautiful, and I think we're going back in that direction. And I think that's kind of the goal that we all should be focusing on.
Well, in the very beginning, and I wrote this down, you said something about basically, this is what I do. I take pictures of beautiful food. I'm passionate about this. I share that. I make good food. I share that. It was all highlighted by the fact that what you're displaying is a shining light. And I believe that the best way to lead is by being a shining light and then just doing those things that you are passionate about. And if that resonates with people, they will follow you.
Totally.
So if you're living this, and I consider you, somebody might say, oh, that guy drinks a bottle of wine a night, he must be depressed or something crazy like that. I see a guy that's happy, that does what he wants in life. You don't think about the health-focused vegan stuff. Like you're onto other things in life. You have your own passions and hobbies. Even though it is food, it's beyond the food. It's photos and creating the food. It's not just like, oh my God, we're
food. Yeah,
and growing the food, right? So to me, that's a shining light person. So if people are resonating with how you are, curating your life basically, and they can follow along with that, they can do that and maybe feel better in their life too. Like that is a positive thing. And if at any point you wanted to do something else, you could. Like if you thought you absolutely needed to eat animals, or you thought it was like you said, the 1800s, where you're capturing your own cow, maybe someday that inspires you. But again, you'd be leading by showing the shining light rather than attacking, how some people do.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I'm so busy, Drew. My career is to the point where I'm so busy, and it all comes from this little noodle right here. I'm just being creative, and I love to surround myself with beautiful things, and I want to grow flowers and plants, and I want to go foraging for mushrooms, and I feel like I'm connected and tapped into these things. I feel like I have the same way that some health vegans are more connected with heightened awareness to how they feel. I am connected to plants and mushrooms in a way that they speak to me, and I feel like it's my job on this earth to beautifully arrange them and to share them and to make delicious recipes accessible to people. And I'm so fortunate that I'm able to find that. I've been able to merge everything in my life. I used to be an artist, and I never was documenting food as an artist. I was always making art and then cooking separately. And then when I merged them, that's when my career was born. And then I got a cookbook deal. And now I have more, it's more effective spreading of my creativity than ever before in my life.
Well, so
I don't know what, that's just me going off. I don't know. You didn't ask
he's
me
ripping.
questions. Like, I'm just going off.
Okay, so we can't have all sunshine and rainbows as much as we'd like on this interview. I have actually a questionnaire, and I don't want to be a bore, but I'm going to pick out one that wouldn't be a bore. I have devised 12 questions that I have. I don't have to ask all of them, but I want to ask maybe one or two of them for vegans that come on the show. And they are not meant to stump them, but more so meant to highlight their thought process.
Okay, you know what? Hold that thought. I'm going to get one quick thing of water.
Perfect. Back to the chat. How's everybody doing? You guys enjoying this so far? I am. I'm enjoying myself. Elise Parker in the chat. Welcome. I haven't read anything in the chat. What's that?
Do you like my office?
It's beautiful. It's really nice. We need a house tour. I was just telling the chat that I have been 100% engaged. I cannot focus on the chat at all. So
I can't even see the chat.
That's good. It's very distracting if you're not used to reading and trying to pay attention to somebody at the same time. So maybe I will start off here. Okay, so again, we don't want to be a bore, but let's talk about the humanity aspect of this. I have a question here. It's actually number 9 down the list. When it comes to raising children on a vegan diet, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about that?
I would say that if I ever have children, which I won't, I would raise them on a vegan diet. Okay. And that's just where I'm at. Like, I know plenty of people that are raising their kids on vegan diets. Some are doing them successfully, some are doing them poorly. The people that I know are doing it successfully. So once again, that's kind of a situation I know I'll never be in, because obviously I'm gay. Like, I'm not accidentally impregnate a woman, so that's not going to happen. And I'm certainly not going to adopt. So me personally, if I had kids, I would raise them vegan.
Okay. I thought that was kind of an interesting question, because I don't even know if you ever wanted kids or adopting is in the equation or anything like that. But I feel like that is sort of the turning point for a lot of vegans, especially the long-termers, some of them that you and I both know. And I feel like, you've said a lot of interesting things, and my brain's starting to click back around to it. Like you said, you've never had real health issues in your life. You've always felt good.
I had my adenoids removed. I had hyperhidrosis, which is like when your hands sweat profusely. Yeah. And, I think when I was younger and smoking cigarettes, I was more lethargic. Like I had symptoms. It's just like I wasn't obsessed with talking about them and trying to figure them out.
Right. Okay.
I was definitely overweight, like I definitely was overweight. I had some depression when I lived in New York, and it was seasonal depression. I had never lived somewhere so cold and so gloomy. I worked at Apple full time in a retail store repairing iPhones. I was depressed. That's a symptom. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Like I was depressed.
That's a symptom of working retail. Trust me, I've been there. So, all right. So as far as that stuff goes, I agree with you. There's really not a whole lot that I can add there, but I guess what I would say is that people who are long-term and manage to last like 10 plus years as a vegan, what I've noticed is that definitely all of them, their digestion was good. Like they would never pinpoint at any point on the vegan diet or even before veganism that their digestion was ever not good in their life. I'm putting together the pieces. Like from the very start of my channel, I've wanted to interview vegans that were successful on the diet, because I am interested in what makes a successful vegan. Like to me, that's fascinating, because they are, in my opinion, they are the rarities. They're not the average. I feel like.
What I'll say is, I think people are quick to openly discuss their relationship to the word veganism. They're very quick to be like, oh, I'm vegan now. They're very quick to be like, oh, well, like I've been eating a vegan diet. So it's like, and I can't tell people that they can't have that expedited relationship with the word vegan. They're excited. That's how they feel. But it's not surprising to me that it's not successful for people and they drop off, because they're kind of rushing into something. And
I'm talking about the people who are vegan for 10 years even if whether they're ethical, whether they're health focused, it doesn't matter.
Are you asking me about my digestion?
Yeah, sure. How is your digestion?
I think my digestion's great. I do think I get bloated. I know that if I eat, in particular, like processed soy, it definitely makes me bloated. I don't know if you've heard of Meiwa, but like it's a Taiwanese vegan meat company. I try not to eat that stuff because it does make me bloated. And it's so funny because I still need to do that whole journal thing where I write down, because like right now I'm fine. And yesterday I was fine. But when I travel, I do get bloated. I feel like I get travel bloat. I don't know if that happens to you. And then sometimes I'll eat something and I'm always like, was it raw cabbage or was it raw garlic that's making me bloated? And I can't really pinpoint it. But at this point, I can't say if it's because I'm vegan or if it's just because I'm human. I mean, not to be gross, but I was in an airport recently. I'm hearing people go to the bathroom and it sounds like me. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, it is what it is. Like, I don't know. Like, I certainly don't talk. Like, if I'm with my friends, I might be like, oh, I'm bloated. But like, I would never go on my Instagram and be like, I have a problem. I'm bloated. I don't know what to do. Like, it's like, it's never like that bad.
I hear you. I guess now knowing, I did a juice fast for 30 days. I was right before I met you, probably. And
oh my God.
That taught me, though, I will have to say that, and that's actually the next question on the questionnaire, which I wanted to ask you about, but that taught me what no bloating felt like. It taught me what an empty colon felt like. Because, I was doing enemas and juice fasting at the same time and raw vegan at the same. So I was like, my insides were very empty down there. And it was the first time in a few years that I had even felt that feeling. So it gave me a benchmark to shoot for. And I was never, as a vegan, ever able to match that level of cleanliness.
And you have now by eating a meat-based diet.
If I'm eating strictly meat, it is as good or even potentially cleaner than being a vegan who's doing enemas every single day.
That's so that good to me, though, because there's no fiber in meat. So how does it move
the point. Through? It doesn't need to move through because it's being absorbed almost 100% entirely. So your stomach acid breaks it down and it gets absorbed in your small intestine. There's like maybe a pebble's worth at the end of that can't be utilized. Right? So it's the fiber that stays in there and that bulks up because there's bacteria eating that fiber, fermenting it in your colon, and then you're absorbing some of those fatty acids, not to get technical, but that's the way that process of the digestion works. So I wanted to ask you, your reaction told me the whole story there, but how do you feel about fruitarianism or raw veganism? Do you think it creates ex-vegans, even though long-term vegans exist who have experimented with those things, and you would be one of those people? Because you said you didn't talk
about this with a few people from the movement. I think eating a raw vegan or a high fruit diet, I think it's a great reset. I think, doing a juice, I don't know about 30 days, but I've done a juice cleanse for, a couple of days. And I know what you mean. Like, it's that great feeling when you feel light and you feel like you're just like clean and you're like, you don't have anything that's like glugging you up. Like, it's a great feeling, and it's a great feeling to have that peak energy. So I think it's a great reset. I think me being raw vegan taught me a lot about myself. It allowed me to understand what, like, my relationship to being obsessed with certain things, orthorexia, because I was 80-10-10. I was low fat raw vegan, and I lost a lot of weight, and I needed to lose weight at that time in my life. Everyone in my life thought I had an eating disorder. Everyone in my life was worried about me. And so I alienated myself from everyone. But I'm still thankful that it happened. And I think that it was a good reset for me. I think that it is not really sustainable to live that way. And it's really difficult. It's really difficult to eat a fruit-based diet in the world today, unless you live in like a tropical environment and all you do is run around and eat fruit.
Do you think it's fair that the criticisms that have been applied to the ex-vegans who were raw vegan 8 years ago, do you think that that's fair to say that that is the reason why they're now ex-vegan? Like, for instance, Megan Elizabeth is a good example. She was raw vegan for a long time and successful at it and loved the way she felt doing that. She, fell off that bandwagon for a few years. And then people are saying, even though her raw vegan stint was well over 3-4 years ago, that could potentially be the reason why she's now an ex-vegan. And then Evan Rock is a good example.
Here's what I'll say about Megan Elizabeth, who I adore and love. Hello, Megan. I hope you're watching this. I would say she was more close to being raw vegan than anyone I knew. She was drinking huge smoothies in the morning. When she came to see me in New Orleans and Jackson, she was eating figs the whole time. We were eating big salads. I mean, it wasn't until late at night she might have some cooked food, so I still feel like she was, if you really, instead of looking at raw veganism as like 100%, she was still eating 80% raw fruit as like the foundation of her diet. So, and then your question was, do I think it's fair to then use that and say that it didn't work for them? I don't really want to talk about like what's fair or split hairs. I feel like people have a different relationship with the word vegan and whatever their veganism is to them. And once again, if it didn't work for them, it didn't work for them. Like whatever they were doing wasn't working. Like I'm not going to say, veganism can't work for you. It's like the veganism that you tried didn't work for you, and you no longer feel associated with the word, and you feel like you can eat animal products. Like you're to that point where it's like you can make that shift and you can eat animal products. And it's like, That's really just where we're at. It's like, it is what it is.
I'm with you. Yeah, that actually is very reasonable, and I agree with that 100%. Do you see any reason in your future, like has there ever been a moment where you're like, that makes sense for me to maybe eat some fish or something, or oysters, or adding anything like that to your diet?
Those are the two last things I would ever be interested in.
Oh, that's right. You didn't like fish.
Seafood, it just grosses me out. It always has. I and I'm not just like saying this because I'm live and with you on YouTube. I really haven't thought about it. It's really, like I said, I'm so busy and excited about what I'm doing. Like I have so much work to do today, and I'm happy to take this time to talk to you. But like, I'm shooting a whole bunch of recipes today. Like I'm so focused on what I'm creating that I don't have time to think about. And I don't.
I was trying to close this one window. Give me 1 second. I'm closing this one window. I think it's making your screen lag. Okay. There we go.
Yeah. So I just, to be completely honest, I really haven't thought about it.
Got it.
And I was talking to Megan recently the other day, and she was like, "But if you were really sick, wouldn't you eat animals?" And I was like, "I wouldn't. Like I don't know. Like we just have to agree to disagree. Like I just wouldn't." And the thing is like, and I hear what you're saying. Like you were connected with the word. Like you did talk about ethics, but if it really was about the animals, if it really truly was about the animals, you wouldn't be eating them. Like, and it's okay. The cat's out of the bag. Like
the cat is out of the bag.
The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
If it was really about animals, you guys wouldn't be eating them. And it was never about the animals. It was about health.
100%. I feel like people just need to accept that. Like people want to hear from the ex-vegan that you are okay with killing a cow, aren't you? You need to accept. I'm like, yes, I am okay with, I mean, it sucks, but yes, I eat conventional animal foods that come from conventional slaughterhouses.
This is a tough question, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
Since we're doing the back and forth.
Sure.
And I like, guys, I'm not trying to be that crazy vegan. I'm just asking a question. But if you, like, have you ever gone to a cow, slit its throat, peeled off its skin, and harvested some of the flesh, and would you say that would that be an enjoyable experience for you?
I have been a part of that process, not with a cow. If I'm fully honest, when I watch these halal videos of these guys putting the cow in the thing and then slitting the throat and then turning the cow upside down and the blood is spraying against the wall, that is very hard to watch. Yes. I don't know what is going on there that they need to do that process, but it seems excessive. Now, on the other hand, I have seen videos of grass-fed farmers calling in their herd of about 30 to 40 cows. They know the cow that they're going to harvest that day. They shoot the cow in the head with a .22 rifle, and then that's the end of it. And then the rest of the cows are like, what just happened? They move along with their day, and then they get to harvesting that cow. Those are two very different graphical positions.
But the same thing about both of those is that you're not involved with it at all. And so yes. I'm just giving an invitation to people, because I was a little shook when I heard about the people that were eating a fruit-based diet. Now they're eating meat. I just thought, oh, well, they're having like a small piece of wild salmon once a week and they feel better. Or they're having like 1 to 2 eggs, once or twice a week. That's not what I heard, Drew. I heard that these people, and I'm not trying to pinpoint just you, but a lot of people that are now eating a non-vegan diet are eating meat 2 to 3 times a day, every day of the week. It's just like, whoa, like it's a little jarring to hear. When I was in Hawaii with all of you, and you guys were all half naked eating fruit and salads out of a bowl, and it's just would be such a different situation now. It's like, so I would come over and everyone's like sizzling steaks and like that's all you're eating. And I'm over in the corner, like just drinking wine, like it's just a little jarring.
That's exactly what it would be, actually. All thanks to me, according to the internet, by the way. They said that I ruined all the vegans in Hawaii, and I'm the reason for that. Happy, healthy vegan has been said.
That's not true. I don't believe that. You are like, how can someone say that you are responsible? I think everyone who whatever they're eating, it's their decision. Yeah. I think you do have a strong, bold personality, and I can see you being convincing to someone. But to say that you ruined everyone in Hawaii, that's ridiculous.
I forgot what I wanted to respond to this, but I think it's funny. I like the way that you make your points, and like I can't disagree with them. There's nothing to disagree with. You're just saying the reality, and I'm agreeing with it. And there's really nothing.
I've learned how to answer these questions because I've been vegan for 13 years.
Right.
And I like to live my life in a positive, fun way. I like laughter. I like color. I like beautiful plants. I love flowers. I love cooking. I love hanging out with people. I love drinking good wine. I love watching movies. I love foraging. I love watching in nature. I love making artwork. Like, these are the things I like to focus on. I don't like to debate. I don't like to argue. And I don't like to create strife, animosity. I'm so not interested in those things.
I think anybody who's watching this has to admit that sure, you have a bottle of wine a night. Sure, you say you have a few extra pounds, but you have to admit that Tim is expressing himself in a way that a healthy, functional person, happy person would display themselves, at least from what my judgments based on just watching you operate. So however you got to that point is great. I'd say if I was a doctor, and I'm not, I would say keep doing what you're doing because it's working for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that I would look at you and be like, oh, like, nah, dude, you need meat in your life right now. But I guess what I'm getting at is you are able to do all those awesome things beyond the food, although they may relate to food because you happen to be a food photographer again. But it's like you are moving on beyond the food, and that's great. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are hoping to get to that point. So, like, you don't get it because you're not having the constant symptoms. Again, we can argue if they're hypochondriacs or not. But again, it's like if they feel better for 6 months or a year by switching their diets, at least they get to be normal for that amount of time. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm still dealing with the hypochondriac argument. I'll have to ponder that for a bit to see how much credence because I don't like giving into people's wacky addictive things. Like we need to at least categorize it as what it is. You know, if you're switching diets all the time because you're a hypochondriac, are your results really results, or is it just a result of you satisfying your hypochondriac nature? You know, I don't want to say that somebody who's genuinely sick as a meat eater or a vegan is going to get the same results that you're getting because you're getting at these I'm talking about the hypochondriacs out there. If they're getting results, it's not necessarily a result of changing the diet to a positive, better diet. It's because they're getting results mentally because they've now satisfied that thing.
Psychological.
Yes. So I want to be clear.
Honestly, any advice I can give to someone who is maybe a hypochondriac is that they need to start seeing a therapist. I think, but seriously, I think mental health is really important for these people. You know, I've seen a therapist before. I would love to continue seeing a therapist. They're expensive, but I think that we're not really looking at the mental health of this. And I think that that's a big component of all of this.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't have a whole lot to add to that. Unless you have anything else, I'd like to potentially turn it over to the audience if they have any questions for you, or if you have any other
time for like. Do you want to do like 3 questions?
Sure. Yeah, guys, throw out some good questions that we can pull from, and we'll have Timmy answer them as good as he can. What if vegans feel better on their diet is just a placebo? Interesting thought point. But again, if the whole purpose, like for Tim, is to feel better emotionally for not consuming those animals,
yeah, it's living in alignment with my ethics. Like,
it's living in alignment with your ethics.
If I can't hurt an animal, then it's the easiest thing for me to do is to just eat plants and mushrooms. And then furthermore, the easiest thing for me to do is to make any decision in my life that doesn't hurt animals. I'm going to make that decision. I can't always be perfect about it, but at the end of the day, I can try.
So recent ex-vegan Brighton Fuller, I don't know if you've ever seen her on YouTube. She just made a channel. She just, I believe, crested 30 days ex-vegan. She was vegan for 10 years, I believe, raw vegan for most of those years. And she ate a lot of food, I would imagine. She's covered a lot of this in her videos, but she's at the point now where at least moving into the ex-vegan days, she had some tumors on her body, very, very thin and frail looking, lost a lot of her muscle mass, a lot of teeth issues. She's in the chat. She has a question for you.
Oh,
she
hi.
said, she's awesome, actually. She says, Timmy, if you were diagnosed with a cancerous tumor and new cutting edge research pointed to tumors partly being caused by excessive carbohydrate intake, would you consider eating meat? And again, this is a close to home situation for her because that basically just happened to her.
No, I wouldn't, because I've experimented with eating a vegan keto diet and I felt great. And I was able to not use carbs as the foundation of my diet. I was able to eat a very low carb diet, eating plants and mushrooms, and I felt great. And I'm still interested in exploring that. I think eating a vegan keto paleo diet is awesome. I think honestly eating a really heavy carb based diet is not ideal. I don't think it's ideal.
What is your diet on a daily basis? Like, what if you could break down the macros for us, or do you keep track of it at all?
I mean, when I was eating vegan keto, I did, because I was trying to see how much carbs I was eating, and it was really eye-opening for me to see how many carbs I was consuming. It was like an insane amount. So I can't tell you the macros. I can tell you that in the morning, I like to drink water. I drink black coffee. I feel my best when I snack on raw nuts and seeds, cucumber and celery and things like that for lunch. And then I try to get in a salad as much as possible. Towards the end of the day, I'm going for heavy, savory cooked food like vegan hamburger helper, roasted potatoes, roasted broccoli. Love roasting vegetables, roasted asparagus. I love making a really good hearty soup, stew. I love making sourdough bread. I've become really connected with making sourdough. So I eat probably more bread than I should. But, I love eating fermented foods. I love, coconut yogurt. I love kimchi. I love sauerkraut. But, I don't know the macros.
A couple people pointed out, we've already covered these topics, guys, so we're going to brush through them, but I don't want to ignore you guys. You said, Tim, if you were stranded on an island without food, would you eat, kill a pig? We've kind of already brushed on that.
I think that's silly, and I think that's a prime example of what a non-vegan person asks a vegan. And I think you guys can squeeze your noodles a little bit more and ask better questions.
I do agree with you. I think we can ask better questions. But I will also say that living on Hawaii gave me that perspective, actually literally living on an island. You see that even in the most tropical, one of the most fruit abundant places in the US, that living on fruit and vegetables that are naturally grown in the area would essentially be death within a couple of weeks, probably. You wouldn't be able to eat or sustain yourself off that land. You would eventually have to provide yourself with more food, and I think that would probably come from animal foods, and I've seen it firsthand. So I will say that. Oh, primal nutritionist, naughty boy. Is he sure he doesn't eat meat? Not even sausage. No.
Wait, what?
He says, is he sure he doesn't eat meat? Not even sausage.
Oh, is that a reference to like a penis?
It's a gay joke. It's an under the not so unobvious gay joke.
Not that funny.
So, but let's. I do want to ask you actually. How do you feel about? How do you feel about non-vegan partners? Is that something that you even think about, or?
Yeah, every boyfriend I've ever dated is not vegan. And I think that it's easier if I date someone, it's easier for me to say, how about when we eat together, we try to focus on vegan food. And then when we're not together, you can eat whatever you want. I think that usually is the middle ground. And if they like me enough, they'll be like, okay. And if they don't, then it probably isn't going to work out.
And of course you make the freaking bombest vegan food ever. So they're not probably complaining when they come over for dinner, right?
Yeah, it really I think initially it's a little jarring for them, and then, but like I said, they have freedom. I'm like, go, you can eat whatever you want. Like I'm not gonna. It's gonna be easier for us if we just eat vegan food together, and then you eat whatever you want outside of that. And if they can't do that, then if they can't make that sacrifice for me, just like I would be willing to make a sacrifice for them, that's the easy common ground. Now, if I fall in love with someone, will those rules change? Sure. I don't know. Right now I'm single, and but like I said, if I meet someone who's not vegan and they're like, they want me to be with them while they're eating non-vegan food, like I'd have to. It would be in that situation that I'd have to talk to them about it.
Got it. So if you guys went to a restaurant per se, you would expect them to order vegan with you, or is that only while you're like in your home? Do you have that rule?
I just basically, it would be ideal to not watch the person eat dead animals before I kiss them and like make love to them. Just like that's just me being particular. It's like, so anytime that we can eat vegan food together, our relationship's going to be smoother.
Got it. Smooth like my digestion.
Yeah.
Without chia seeds anymore.
Without chia seeds. God, no chia seeds.
Let's see. We've agreed to eat. Somebody said they're dating a vegan. They're actually a carnivore supporter. They said, I'm dating a vegan. We've agreed to either eat before going to each other's places or bring our own food.
That's great.
I think it's definitely easier to be a carnivore person dating a vegan, because the vegan is looking at you like you're a criminal. And you're just kind of like, okay, you're eating plants. It's like not that big of a deal, And
to be clear, I don't view you as a criminal. I view you having a different relationship with your diet than I do.
I would say that's accurate. Oh, by the way, I wanted to point out earlier, regarding the relationship with the word vegan, I went into veganism with keeping one piece of my teeny tiny toe inside the omnivore water because I always said that if I experience any downsides to this way of eating, that I will reserve the right to going back to animal foods. And I didn't have the most amazing results the first year I was vegan. I thought it was an improvement over what I was eating before, but it wasn't amazing. But I continued pursuing.
About by amazing, what results were you looking for?
So before I went vegan, I was having bad digestion, worse than I was having as a vegan, but not as bad as my final vegan days. So once I increased the fat content, like for you say you can eat raw nuts and seeds. For me, when I eat peanuts or walnuts or almonds, I have horrible digestion. I cannot eat oatmeal. I never could.
Wow.
It gives me like IBS symptoms, like straight up, like not good at all. Potatoes are not good for me. Lentils are not good for me. A lot of things just basically.
You can't have potatoes?
What's that?
You can't have potatoes?
Yeah, I still don't eat potatoes. I know. And so for me, I think I'm not a hypochondriac because
I don't think you are.
I had really bad digestion as a vegan, especially towards the end when I upped the fats. And there's just no way that I can get around that. Like I was living in basically misery. Like my stomach was it was a damn bagpipe. So, anyway.
So funny because when I was in Hawaii, you were talking about how flawless your digestion was. You
were there in the glory days. And I have pointed this out. There was a 6-month period of perfect digestion that I had as a vegan. It was better digestion than I've ever had in my life as a vegan.
Yes, that's why it was so funny because like when I was out there, you guys were running around half naked, golden sun kissed, eating fruit, salads, living your best life. I was just like, man, I was like so inspired when I was out there. Like that's why it was like, man, like you guys have always inspired me to be healthy. So that's what I remember. And I remember Megan Elizabeth always being an example of health. I even put her in my cookbook and I gave her a tribute. I said, you inspire me to be the healthiest version of myself that I can be. And I love you for that. So that's what I got from Hawaii. Yeah.
Well, okay. And again, I had very good digestion for 6 months and I felt good. I had good energy. I never have claimed brain fog as a symptom of mine, by the way. It was always related around digestion being good and digestion being bad for most of the time. So again, 6 months of perfect digestion, but I was 135, 136 pounds. I couldn't gain any weight at all. I mean, I was not performing at all. So I had good digestion, but I couldn't get enough calories in to even be remotely like feeling strong within my own body. You know what I mean? So I was sacrificing physical performance and maybe where my body's supposed to be. I just genuinely felt kind of weak. And it wasn't until I added in protein powders and things like that increased my performance, which then eventually led down the road of really bad digestion. Does that make sense? So yeah, when I was consuming mostly fruit, I was juicing oranges in the morning. I was eating a bunch of chia seeds.
It spikes my blood sugar and then I feel awful. I can't have straight up orange juice at all. I remember at Woodstock Fruit Festival, I would drink it and a lot of coconut water and that just like I was just like, whoa, this is like too much. So
isn't that interesting that, like I loved drinking juice because it was the only thing that didn't mess my stomach up and I felt pretty good on it as long as I sipped it. If I were to just knock back half a gallon, I'm sure I would have like this insane blood sugar craze.
I can't help it because it's so sweet and good. I'm just like I can't help it.
I'm a sipper. Like when I drink smoothies, I sip them. I told somebody it takes me 2 hours to drink my lunch smoothie that's 1,000 calories. And they're like, what? Like Jackson, but he comes from an eating disorder background where he's a stuffer, I'm not a stuffer. I actually would prefer not to eat really. Like that's the difference between me and you is that I don't look at food that way. Maybe we have a different relationship with the word vegan, but we also have a different relationship with food in general, Totally. And that's probably a thing too.
It's no secret. My relationship with food is very intense. It's like now become like my creative outlet. And like I've made a career on showcasing the food that I make. So it's definitely like, it's a weird Interesting relationship.
It's unfortunate I can't eat the potato. Well, I still do eat potatoes, by the way, and I just deal with whatever comes from it.
So let's do one more question, and then I have to go.
Somebody said, "Hey Drew, cure your candida and go back to vegan diet." Great idea. Okay, I'll see about that. I don't see any more. I'm not going to take a boring question just to do it.
I love that you're using that word now.
Oh, if it's not entertaining, then I don't. I sometimes dog on health entertainment on YouTube because I think that's what a lot of it is people who don't know all that much about health, and then they're just sort of entertaining. So, they give their advice and people happen to follow it. But you do have to be entertaining. I don't know. Drew, does he drink literally one bottle of wine every day? Yes, he does.
Maybe not every day, but like I have wine every day. I'm not claiming that to be healthy.
Right.
I'm not claiming that to be healthy. I like good wine and I like to drink it at the end of the day. And I like to catch a little buzz, and it's something that I do. And
who doesn't?
If you want to judge me for it, then you can do that. I don't really care.
Brighton says she was offended that Timmy laughed when I said that she was mostly raw vegan.
Well, of course, that's exactly what we've been talking about the whole time. It's all of these people, all of the vegans that are no longer connecting with the word vegan are coming from that movement. I just think it's really fascinating. That's precisely
not me.
That's precisely why I wanted to come on here. Sweetheart, don't be offended. I laughed at the fact that it's all stemming from the raw vegan movement. It's not a personal attack on you. I want you to feel your best, and I invite you to feel your best.
Let's see. I feel like, hang on, my internet is going crazy. Let's let it stabilize for a second. I'm sure they can hear audio, but I'm sure it's somebody uploading an Instagram story, if I had to guess.
And I wish people would stop being offended all the time. Why it's such a bore? Why is everyone so offended all the time? It's not that serious. It's not.
Yeah, I agree. I'm dealing with the same, people making posts about me and making crazy assumptions.
Well, somebody's asking about you have kind of spearheaded this, and that's why I wanted to come on here to kind of give you the opportunity for us to have a conversation. I've had a lovely time, and I consider you a friend, and I would love to hang out if we ever are in the same city. But, from my perspective, I was at the same time I was seeing you interview people, and then I was I felt kind of like you were just attacking veganism. And I was like, you know what, let me talk to him, because I don't know if that's really how he wants to be perceived. And I don't feel like you're attacking veganism at all. I feel like we're having a healthy conversation.
So maybe I will pull my own question. Do you think that the criticisms that people have about the way I approach the anti-vegan or the vegan topic are reasonable? The way that I show up online, do you think that the things I'm saying are far-fetched, or do you think I'm embellishing things, or do you think that this is genuinely my experience, and do you feel represented well now that you've come on the show?
100%. But I'm also different than the other people that you've been interviewing, and I feel like it's been, up until this point, it's been a little unfortunate at how the whole thing has come across to the public. And that's precisely why I came on here, was to try to shed a positive light on it and to show people that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Because I'm leaving this. I'm about to go live my life and be creative and do the things I need to do. You're going to live your life, do the things you need to do. And I'm good. I'm gold.
I'm good too. Let's leave it at that, because it's a positive note, and I like this interview the way that it is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Timmy, have a good day. Enjoy your creative natures and endeavors. And I'm going to hang out with the chat and, answer some more questions, whatever they may do. So
guys, if you guys want to see some fun, positive, beautiful content, I invite you to follow along on my Instagram, Mississippi Vegan. I have a ton of free recipes on my blog, MississippiVegan.com. You do not have to be vegan to enjoy them. You can just go on there and be inspired. That's all I want. I want you to be inspired, to be creative, eat delicious food, and have fun.
I definitely second that. Anything else that you wanted to plug, I'm very happy to support your stuff because I think it's really top quality, as good as it gets, really, from...
Well, thanks. No, I think I invite all of you to just take a look. You'll see what I'm about. It's just about creative expression, So, well, anyways, text me later, Drew. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good day, buddy. See ya.
Bye.
Okay. Well, that was Mississippi Vegan. Again, thanks for coming on the show, Timmy. Had a great time with you. And I think we had a good discussion. Again, that's probably the most healthy, balanced discussion where I've actually been able and thankfully able to agree with the vegan that's on the other end of the line. I'm happy to agree on things that are reasonable. If a vegan person wants to come on here and be reasonable and give their opinion, as strong as it may be, if it's a solid, thought out viewpoint, then I'm going to agree with it, if that makes sense. By the way, Brighton, I'm sorry if you felt slighted by Timmy. He's a funny, engaging guy, so I don't think he meant anything harmful or negative, by the way. Shakotan FC says, Mark Tassi has gotten excellent results over time. Shakotan, I can't tell if you are a vegan or a carnivore. You're saying that Mark Tassi got results over time. Orlin, are you in the chat? Welcome, Orlin. I love fruit, but the issue is that I waste away when I do it. My eyes sink into my face, but my autoimmune disease is mostly under control when I eat mostly fruit. I think fruit is the most benign vegan food that we can consume. I've been really enjoying fruit lately, by the way. I've been consuming a lot of berries, strawberries, blueberries. Everything's pretty much just flowing into the markets right now. Raspberries, blackberries, and they're very good and they're very plentiful and cheap right now. And basically what I'm doing is I'm eating my meat. I'm back on the milk because I'm trying to gain some weight again. And then I'm also eating berries till I'm done enjoying them. Because I did notice that when I was like strictly carnivore, I was having more of a sweet tooth craving. And the fruit really helps that. And it's easier to eat fruit than it is to eat, or it's probably healthier to eat fruit than it is to eat like candy bars or whatever. People are talking about Tassi. We're going to have Tassi on the show next week, guys. We're going to have Tassi on the show. So let me tell you guys the lineup. Saturday, we got Chris Kruger coming on, which is going to be freaking dope. I'm super stoked. I had to go out and wrestle him into coming on the show. But he's actually pretty pumped to come on, sounds like. And then Wednesday, most likely we're going to have Tassi on the show. Unless somebody comes in and wants to take that Wednesday slot, and then I'll bring Tassi on sooner. But he added me on Facebook, and who knows what this discussion is gonna do. Somebody says Mark Tassi looks like a serial blank, probably eats the heart of his victims. Okay, that's a little extreme. Tassi does not look capable of doing those things. Hey, you're welcome, Shell F. They said, thanks, Tim. That was nice. I agree. We don't need to fight with the vegans. I actually don't want to fight with the vegans. I do openly accept the battles if they want to do it. I'm not going to back down from them, but I don't want to battle them. It's not my preference. I'd rather agree on certain areas that make sense, and I'd rather, they can still go do whatever they want. I mean, I think they're wrong for the most part in terms of what nutrition can offer. But again, if somebody's experiencing good results, to me, that's more important than proving which diet is right. When I look at Tim, he looks like he's got plenty of energy. He looks happy and healthy from what I can see. And he says that he feels good. So, hey, great. I think he should keep doing what he's doing because it's working for him. Senka says that they eat 3 kilograms of fruit from their own garden every day. That is probably not true, but we'll have to just take your word for that one. Protein is provided by tender greens. Fruit also contains protein. That is true, Shakotan. It does provide a very small, meager amount of protein, and generally you will wither away if you consume all fruit and try and build some sort of, performance-oriented diet. Somebody asked about Ted Carr. I wanted to answer it, but I lost it. Vegans do get triggered if you call Gregor unhealthy, by the way. I don't know why. Bonafide Vegan asks, Drew, make a video of what you were eating and supplementing Final Days Vegan, 2.5 years here and feeling fine. I did. I have a video on my channel. What did I just say? I have a video on my channel titled Why Vegans Are Always Wrong or something. And I highlight in detail with Chronometer my last year of food as a vegan. So I think that you should go check out that video and you'll see exactly what I ate. I show exactly what I ate. What was the TED comment? I want to read that. Drew, can you talk to Logan? Yes, I will talk to Logan. He invited me on his show the other day, Logan Blake. He wanted to come on, or he wanted me to come on his show, and I would have joined if I could. I was traveling. I couldn't actually get on his show. Of course, he thought that I was making things up, but yeah, apparently I'm sitting at my computer all day long. But yeah, Tassie next Wednesday, Chris Kruger Saturday. Oh, Philosophy and Fruit says, I wanted to know your thoughts on TED's results. Okay, let's talk about it. All right. So when I lived in Hawaii, I was living there with Ted Carr was living there too. And Ted wanted to prove that he could gain weight on a raw vegan diet. So his plan of attack was to eat a bunch of avocados because they're the most calorie-dense fruit that you can basically, consume. And he thought he was getting a lot of protein also from eating avocados. It kind of shows the lack of nutritional knowledge that Ted has. I'm sorry. And I like Ted, but he doesn't know much about nutrition. He just doesn't. And this was like a year and a half ago. This wasn't a long time ago. So Ted had already been doing his raw vegan thing for like 6 years at this point. He was then consuming buckets of avocados and salad to get his protein in. And I said, Ted, you know that avocados don't have much protein in them, right? Like maybe 2 grams of protein. He was blown away. So even though Ted was consuming 3,000 plus calories worth of fruit per day and vegetables, he was gaining his weight from mostly fat. So yes, he bulked up. He got a little bit bigger. Ted genetically has kind of big traps and big chest, and kind of like thicker legs too, but not so much in the arms and not so much in the shoulders or the back. That's just like his genetic strengths and weaknesses, right? And me and him talk about this, and he's open about this. But when he was gaining his weight, it wasn't all muscle. It's not like you go to the gym, you see like these real shredded dudes that have like a bunch of muscle mass and very low body fat. Ted is only able to gain muscle when he's in a massive caloric surplus, consuming a lot of extra fat. That's why when Ted gets stronger, he gets also fatter. He might be able to take a few photos here and there where it looks like he's kind of lean, but Ted is kind of fat right now. And he is even on an open cut right now. He's saying he needs to lose body fat. And and just like Jackson, they're both trying to consume a high carb diet to gain muscle mass. But what they do not understand that because they're in a caloric surplus on mostly carbohydrates with some fat, they're gaining a lot of excess fat. And yes, they are gaining strength, but they're gaining so much fat in relation to their strength that when it comes down to the time for them to actually cut calories, they're going to completely lose all of their gains. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact. They're not going to shred down and have all this muscle tissue left over. They're going to lose all the muscle that they gain along with the fat that they gained in kind of the same relation that they gained that fat in the first place. I hope that makes sense. Kind of technical, but it is going to be the case. I'm sorry, it's just the case. Zoopy says, just looked at Logan Blake's YouTube channel and just by the profile picture, I can tell he is a blank. Listen, Logan Blake posts old pictures of himself currently from like 3-4 years ago when he was weight training. Now he's got the skinny neck, he's got the no traps, he's got the no shoulders. You know, I don't know what his situation is over there. I don't know if he's still going to the gym or not, but he basically hides in a big sweatshirt every single time he gets on camera. And he posts really old photos of himself when he had a little bit of muscle mass and a little bit of strength. Shakotan says, Tassie is an elite level cyclist for his age. Man, you're a straight up troll, aren't you? Yehudit says, not going to lie, Ted Carr is looking pretty awesome at the moment. Ted Carr doesn't look bad. He's just gained a lot of excess fat for the amount of muscle that he's put on. I don't know what else to say about that. There's not really an argument to that. Orlean says, building muscle and fruitarian diet don't go hand in hand. You are correct. Can it be done? Can you make some gains as a fruitarian? Yes, you can. But you will also most likely get a bunch of excess fat that you would have otherwise had to gain if you were just eating a proper high protein, lower carbohydrate diet. Yeah, vegans say that the protein RDA is lower than people say, and I think they are totally wrong. I think that the RDA is on the low end for athletes. Logan Blake thought that Dr. Greger was 60 years old on his live stream. Isn't he in his 40s or something? Greger's like in his late 40s. I don't know, man. You cannot look at Dr. Greger and tell me that he's a beaming light of health. I don't think that Mark Tassie is an elite cyclist. Somebody says he looks great. Oh, Philosophy and Fruit says Ted looks great for a fruitarian. Yeah, for a fruitarian. But like, how much effort has to go into Ted not wasting away because he's choosing to eat this fruitarian diet? If it was so optimal for the human body, wouldn't it be kind of effortless to do that? And again, so many fruitarians are having teeth issues. They're wasting away. That's the average fruitarian. Brooke Graves says, that's why they built the vegan... That's why... What? That's why the built vegan bodybuilders may be on juice and steroids. Yeah, I'd say there's a good chance of that. I mean, I think personally Nimai Delgado, not natural. The rest of the guys, I can't really say. You know, I've met John Venus in real life. He's a thick dude. Naturally, that guy's going to be big regardless. But I don't know. When those guys get really shredded down and they're still big, that's questionable. But again, I'm not here to accuse people. I can only go based on what I see. And I know how Ted's situation is working out for him. And I tell him on his channel, basically. I also think that Ted's looking, you know, I said something to him about his eyes recently. Like, I feel like, especially when Ted's under eating, it definitely makes his face look a bit like older and sucked out. Kind of like if you've ever seen a UFC fighter on fight week that's weighing in on the scales when they're cutting weight and they're losing like 20, 30 pounds in a week to just make their weight class, their face looks skeletal. It's like sucked out. Their eyeballs are sunk in the back of their head. Soap on Slope says most vegan bodybuilders are really short, easy to look solid if you're short. That's the thing, though. None of those vegan bodybuilders that everybody points to, John Venus, Brian Turner, Nimai Delgado, yeah, those guys aren't short. John Venus is well over 6 feet. I believe Brian Turner is about the same height. Yeah, Derek Simnet's 5'6" or whatever. But he's the one I think is the most natural out of all of them, if I had to say. Because you guys got to realize that if they were all involved in hardcore gym culture before they ever went vegan. So in that world, it's kind of more normal to actually take steroids than. But again, I never took steroids, and I worked out in the gym. I never got as big as them, not even close. So what's really going on here? I don't know. I really don't know. I accept that my genetics are not optimal for bodybuilding. Bonafide Vegan says, hey, Drew, just looked at what you were eating. I'd cut down on the fiber and fruit big time. Also, what were you supplementing? I recommend taking algae oil and zinc based on recent studies. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you that algae oil and zinc and other things are probably necessary. I only supplemented with B12, and I also ate an excessive amount of fortified soy products that had a lot of B12 in there. So I was getting B12 from every direction. But how do you cut down on fiber if you're eating whole food plant-based? You're basically forced to eat a lot of fiber. So again, it's you're already telling me to supplement and not eat a whole foods plant-based diet. So vegans cannot decide what is the most healthy version of the vegan diet. I ate a whole food plant-based diet with a bit of protein powder. So in my opinion, I ate one of the healthiest diets that is even available. Tassie has a cyclist physique and is almost 60. If he's unfit, you destroy him in a race, or should. If I trained cycling for a few months, I'm sure I would destroy Mark Tassie. And then people would say, okay, well, you're 30 years younger. That should be expected. All right. So what does any of that prove? Being a cyclist is not an impressive thing, in my opinion. As far as your ability to be a cardio machine, that is mostly determined by putting in the work and your genetics. That is the way that works. Cycling is not a skill-based activity. It is simply your body either being, or a combination of these things. You have to be lightweight to be a climber. You have to have a genetic predisposition where your lungs can basically perform at a higher level than other people. That means that if you train for a year and I train for a year, one of us is going to genetically have a much better aptitude for a higher VO2 max than the other person, and that is purely genetics. So again, it doesn't prove anything. Doesn't prove anything. Thank you for the stats, Soap on Slope. Yeah, John is quite a bit taller, at least 6 feet. Nemai's 5'9". Yeah. So, look, I worked out for almost 10 years, relatively consistently. Was I a gym rat? No. But there's definitely periods of time where I was working out for well over a year, maybe even 2 years, very consistently. And I never, ever, ever looked anywhere remotely close to Nemai Delgado, and we're the same height. So, there you go. Brighton, how are you feeling lately, by the way? I haven't been able to catch your last videos. I've been busy and traveling and stuff like that. You're never vegan. You dreamed for 4 years. Lenny, yes, I am an ex-vegan. I was vegan for 4.5 years, and I've been ex-vegan for about 9 months now. Brighton, you're saying you have not tried raw milk or eggs yet, but heading to the farmer's market this week to try that out. I think you moved back to the East Coast, but you can find raw milk surprisingly at most high-end health stores. Like I can buy it here at a store called Sprouts. I'm pretty sure Whole Foods has it. It's expensive, but it's very, very, very good. Like I would go get that immediately. It's nothing weird. You don't need to build yourself up to it like raw liver or anything like that. Raw milk is just straight up good. When will I have Brighton on the stream? Whenever she's ready. She's still getting her sea legs under her. I want to give her some time to sort of gather. It takes time to get out of the vegan thing and then gather a bit of your thoughts. And see you later, Lenny. To gather a bit of your thoughts and have some reflections on the whole transition. You know, you certainly don't know it all in a month. Are you gaining weight now, Brighton? Well, Gung Fu, I'm telling you right now, Tassie's going to be an interesting, entertaining guest. So, yeah, way less in the clouds. I hear you, Brighton. I think that's a combination of you getting the proper nutrients now and also just the proper amount of calories for your body. I mean, you're a tall girl and eating, you're the same height as me. So eating enough vegan food, especially raw vegan food, is very difficult to do with somebody who's 5'10", especially a female. I would imagine that your intestines and everything are probably smaller and more narrow than a man's to begin with. So eating that much raw food is probably a nightmare. You think she's ready now, Gung Fu? Okay. Nimai Delgado, fellows on roids, somebody says. Yeah. I'd say that if you've made it to the IFBB Pro level, do we need to really say that? I mean, come on. The guy is shredded to the bone with huge muscles. Come on. Yeah, raw liver is kind of gross. I do want to try it again, though. Thanks for the tip there, Brooke. Mother's Market has raw milk. Ron Paul Girl says, Mark Tassi is mellow, nice, a little slow, but means well, and actually voted for Trump. Ron Paul Girls. Nice. You guys notice that Ron Paul Girls is the most mellow and normal in my channel and chat and comment sections compared to other people? Dr. Gregor thinks that his diet is serving him after 20 years. Yeah, I don't know about that. I agree, Soap. Sanka, for you, it's easy to eat raw vegan. How tall are you? You're a female, I believe. What are the benefits of eating straight animal fats? Fat-soluble vitamins, ease of digestion, massive amount of nutrition and calories for a small amount of food. It tastes amazing, like really amazing. Yeah, 200 grams of nuts is a lot of nuts, though. I mean, that will stop your digestion cold. I cannot eat 200 grams of nuts. A half pound of nuts, I would be so constipated. Are there dangers associated? Sure. Depends on who you want to believe. I recommend people trying things for themselves. It's a dangerous concept to teach people or encourage people to think for themselves and give them the tools to do so. I know that I feel pretty dang good eating the way that I do. So I'm going to trust my body to reflect that feeling back to me. Studies are definitely not all that matters. What would you recommend Brighton Fuller in terms of protein, carbs, fat ratio? I would say whatever she wants to eat right now, go for it. If she wants to eat some fruit with some meat, go for it. If she wants to eat some rice and some beans along with her food, go for it. You know, she is still recovering from kind of a heavy amount of malnutrition, and she has some healthy weight to gain back. So I encourage her to eat however she wants. Once she's at a weight that she's comfortable with, probably reduce the carbohydrates just a bit and keep it a little bit tighter. But in general, I think that we can handle some carbohydrate, and I don't think it's so bad. I think that, like, my goal is to be able to eat the widest, most flexible diet ever. I want to be able to eat anything and not have a reaction to it. That's my goal. It's kind of the opposite of orthorexia, in my opinion. I want to be able to consume everything and still be healthy. Now, I recognize that there is a limitation to, you know, a limitation to what you can eat. I can't eat all candy bars, right? I probably can eat all beef, but that's a little bit boring. So that's my goal. How much weight have you gained, Brighton? Okay, so yeah, as far as optimal goes, you know, if we're going to talk optimal, then I would obviously say probably 45% protein, 45% fat, 10% carbs. If you want like an optimal ratio. I find that I'm very satisfied. My performance in every aspect is very good. Focus is very good. If I'm eating 2 meals a day and about those macros that I just gave you. Now, lately I've been a little bit more relaxed with the carbohydrates, eating about 20%, but it's not causing me any issues. My digestion has been so good. Now, again, I'm on these bad boys here, the Candida support supplement. We'll see how everything goes when I'm not on that. But this stuff has genuinely been very, very good so far. I've had 0 days of bloat this entire time. I have much less gas than before when I'm consuming things like beans and rice and tortillas and kind of like off the wall stuff, not associated with the carnivore diet. When I'm eating 100% carnivore, I don't need any type of supplements. I'm perfect. But I'm thinking that even when I get off these Candida support pills, I will still have very good digestion. I mean, it's been very good. So I'm probably going to recommend this supplement after it's over. But I want to finish the 60 days, and then I also want to give it some time afterwards to see what changes after I stop taking the pills. One Punch Vegan says, seems some people need meat for sex drive. It's a joke. Yeah, you say that walnuts do it for you. But, you know, I was consuming a lot of peanut butter as a vegan, and not really my drive was going down, but my ability to perform was going down. Can gluten-free granola give diarrhea? Listen, let me tell you a little story about granola. So I was making overnight oats for a while. What I was doing was taking chia seeds, granola, organic, granola oatmeal, organic oatmeal, not granola. I was taking raw oatmeal, putting it in a jar along with some berries, vanilla flavored soy milk, so it was real sweet and delicious. And then I'd put a little bit of like maple honey in there, mix it up. It was really tasty. Oh, and some peanut butter. And I was eating that for breakfast for a few months. That's what was helping me gain the bulk, along with my standard lunch and dinner as a vegan. But there was some days where I would have the craziest IBS after consuming the oatmeal, and I couldn't figure it out. So one day I drove, actually Evan Rock and Megan Rock and I drove across the island from Hilo to Kona to go to the beach. All right. So we would oftentimes leave quite early in the morning, like 9 or 10, and then get there so that we'd have like most of the day, and then we'd all hang out at the beach and do all that stuff and then have time to drive home. So we get to the beach, and it's been about an hour and 45 minutes sitting in the car eating my oatmeal smoothie. I was like shifting around in my seat, like, oh man, I'm not feeling that good. I don't want to get graphic, but I had to run to the porta potty toilet when we got to the beach, and I am so thankful that there was a bathroom there. So it's not good on my digestion. That's all I had. That's all I had that morning was my overnight oats, and I barely made it to the bathroom. Brooke Graves says, does your family still cook traditional Cuban cuisine? What about yuca? Yeah, we have yuca for holidays. It's not something that's made all the time. And for the holidays, we have like Thanksgiving. Usually at Thanksgiving, we have an American style turkey, and then we have like all this Cuban stuff on the side because all the Cubans come over. So we have like black beans, white rice, yuca, ham, always ham, and yeah. And my grandma sometimes makes traditional Cuban dishes as well. Picadillo, which has the super fried up oily beef with green olives. Tastes good, but you don't feel healthy when you eat that. Yeah, Do Eat says, is your sex drive stamina better as a vegan in your late 20s as a vegan? I think that it depends on how long you've been vegan and how well the vegan diet is doing for your body. So I don't think that it's necessarily your age. I think that has to do with the way that food is interacting with you and how long you've been doing it and how well you've been doing it. Do vegans need to take wet wipes everywhere they go? They should. They should. Because it's real. Have you seen Celine Fruit Wanderer? Have no idea who that is. Could you talk about how you were able to change your viewpoint when shifting from ethical vegan to carnivore? How did you decide it was time to put yourself first? This is a question that I actually struggle helping people with, because I've had a few sort of ethical vegans want my help. They contact me through Instagram, DM, and stuff like that. And it's a tough one because it's an emotional decision to become connected to animals in that way. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I feel that one of our primary directives as a human being and as any living creature is to not just survive, but to get ourselves in a position of optimal health in order to reproduce and live the longest, happiest, healthiest life that we can. So in that case, if you can wrap your mind around the fact that we do need animal foods long term. Now, some people don't believe that, but I believe that for my body at the very least. So once I came to that conclusion based on the very poor results I was getting on the vegan diet, then it wasn't so hard for me to shift over, because I said, hey, I'm neglecting my body by consuming and continuing to consume this vegan diet. And again, like I told Timmy, even from day one as a vegan, I always reserved the right in my heart and in my mind that if I was convinced that I needed animal foods to go on or to carry on with my life, that I would go back to them and I wouldn't have any guilt around it. Because again, it's not our decision from birth to be in the body that we have. We didn't choose to be a carnivorous creature. You know, just like a lion doesn't choose to eat what they eat. They need it. Nobody's going to deny a lion or a house cat their food. It's just that people have now created in their perception or through science that we can survive the rest of our lives as 100% plant-based eaters. And I don't think that's accurate for the majority of people. I think that maybe 5% of the population are outliers. Their body exceptionally handles plant foods, and they can maybe survive the rest of their life optimally as a vegan. I don't think that most people can do it. T. Tribby says, Selena Fruit Wander is literally me at age 22. I was chasing those high vibrations and losing touch with reality. Exactly. When you eat a lot of fruit, you do feel good, and you feel it's kind of like a high, though. You really peak, and then it falls off, you know? One Punch Vegan says, you believe that for your body at this time, just wait 20 years for your first bypass surgery. Well, you know, I'm not just any carnivore, or I'm not just any omnivore eating a standard American diet. I fully understand the relationship between carbohydrates and between fat. You're not supposed to really eat them together. So I understand where the pitfalls are. Like last night for dinner, what did I eat? I had a bunch of blueberries and I had 2 burger patties. No bun, nothing like that. For lunch, I had a steak. So I'm not consuming the traditional... for straight up, I don't believe that protein and fat from meat gives you anything wrong with your arteries. I feel like that, if anything, it heals your arteries. It heals your body. So you're saying that I'm guaranteed a bypass, but I don't think that's accurate. It's your opinion to say that. I know that there's some science to associate those things, and I was in that mindset before, but I don't agree with it anymore because I know how my body feels now, and it definitely feels better than it did as a vegan on a more consistent basis. Yeah, we're made of meat. I don't understand how we can consume the thing that we're made of and it's just gonna kill our body. I don't think that makes any sense. You know what were humans doing 200 years ago? There was not a single vegan on the planet. Even probably 100 years ago, there wasn't a single vegan on the planet. It wouldn't have even been possible. So it just makes no sense for people to think that we're gonna automatically have heart conditions. And T. Trippy makes a good point. There's a reason a lot of vegans have eating disorders because they're detached from their bodies or want to be. And I agree. I think that that's generally what that path leads to. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's time for the afternoon walk. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today. Again, thanks Timmy, aka Mississippi Vegan, for coming on the show. I had a really good time speaking to him. Probably the most pleasant vegan guest that I'm ever going to have on the show, but we'll see what happens. And hopefully you guys keep following on, supporting the channel. Like the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We need the numbers to be pumping up. And hopefully this video doesn't get demonetized because I was on my best behavior today, okay? This is not a hate speech channel. This isn't about any of that. We want to share the truth. We want to get to the bottom of the truth in diet and nutrition. And I think that open dialogue between vegans and ex-vegans is very positive and good for the movement on both sides. I think it will help a lot of people come to better conclusions and understanding of their own body and understanding of nutrition on a more layman type level, something they can actually apply to their life. And again, stay tuned for Saturday. We have Chris Kruger coming on, not to be confused with Chris Kresser, although he would be an awesome guest too. Chris Kruger is coming on Saturday, and we have Mark Tassi coming on next Wednesday, and perhaps Logan Blake somewhere in between. And we have Tassi in the chat today. All right, again, thank you all for showing up here. It was a great Wednesday stream, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your week. I'll see you Saturday. Goodbye.